Divine and mysterious immortality. I start my cultivation by adding points as a butcher. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 201, Poisoning in Despair. So what if I am in the innate realm? What is this? In the alley, the hunchbacked old woman and concubine Sue subconsciously looked up. They saw a little green bird dropping an inconspicuous bottle to them. What kind of weird scene was this? Both of them were stunned. Concubine, be careful. The hunchbacked old woman subconsciously protected her and took a step back. With a wave of her hand, an invisible force blasted the bottle into powder. If Wei Hong saw the scene with his own eyes, he would probably laugh out loud on the spot. He released the ice poison that he developed with Jiang Yuanka this time. This poison is liquid and volatile. Once the jade bottle falls to the ground, it will fill the surrounding 10 feet with poisonous gas in a few breaths. But the hunchbacked old woman shook it so casually. The jade bottle was directly turned into powder, and the poison inside was also shaken into mist and scattered around. This is even worse than falling to the ground. The ice poison is colorless and tasteless. The two of them obviously didn't take this little episode seriously, probably thinking that the little bluebird was naughty and had quite some sundries to play with. But they had just walked a few steps. The hunchbacked old woman was the first to feel something was wrong. She exclaimed with a pale face, "Not good. Concubine, please swallow the detoxification pill quickly, it's poisonous." Poison. A trace of astonishment flashed across concubine Sue's beautiful face. Obviously, they didn't know why they were poisoned. At this time, the two of them turned back to look at the fragments of the jade bottle on the ground, and their faces changed at the same time. They began to stuff the detoxification pill into their mouths like crazy. Unfortunately, there is no antidote for this poison. Even if Jiang Yuanka inhaled a large amount of ice poison now, there is no way to get rid of it for a while. After all, the antidote is still under development. Therefore, the two of them are destined to be unlucky. Because the hunchbacked old woman shattered the jade bottle, the air around them was already full of poisonous fog. How could they inhale a large amount of ice poison and get away with it? Who is it? The two of them half knelt on the ground in pain. While covering her mouth and nose, she looked around in panic, fearing that an enemy would suddenly appear and attack her. But they did not dare to make too much noise to avoid attracting the attention of the patrol camp. They were trapped in this alley and lingered on. A feeling of despair made them even more aggrieved. "Mammy, please go," concubine Sue said painfully and weakly. "This poison is very fierce. I feel like my whole body is freezing and I can't lift a bit of strength. The other party first set fire to force us out, and then used birds to poison us. They must have been eyeing us for a long time. Let's go. Leave." The hunchbacked old woman smiled bitterly and said with a painful face, "We can't leave. The other party must be hiding in the dark and watching us. Even if they don't take action, they will never let us leave alive. If we make a little noise, the patrol camp will kill us. How can we leave? Why is this happening?" Concubine Sue's face was full of disbelief. She was a woman of high intelligence, planning the situation in the court without omissions. Even when the sixth prince escaped from the capital, he did not forget to rescue her. But who did she offend? How could she end up in this situation inexplicably? "Who are you? Why don't you come out and talk?" Concubine Sue gritted her teeth and said weakly, "I know you are definitely not a member of the new emperor's party, otherwise you wouldn't have to go to such great lengths to kill us. If we don't have any deep hatred, maybe we can talk. As long as you let us go, we will be grateful. If you have any conditions, you can just open them. Whether it's martial arts secrets and precious medicines, wealth and status, or beautiful women and magic weapons, as long as you name a price, I will definitely do my best to meet it." A chuckle came from the dark. Wei Hong did not show up, nor was he attracted by this cheap inducement. He just silently ridiculed the other party, making the two of them almost faint. Ice poison is a poison that freezes ki and blood, destroys nerves and bone marrow, and eventually causes people to bleed to death in despair. He didn't need to make a move at all. He just needed to wait quietly, and he could see the two people die in despair and pain. No matter how many strategies and wisdom you have, no matter how powerful you are, you have to kneel down and surrender in front of the ice poison. Perhaps, this is also the first time they have felt the despair of ordinary people. On weekdays, they are surrounded by people and countless martial artists to protect them when they encounter danger. Who would have thought that they would fall down in an alley like a drowned dog and slowly die? No. Concubine Sue's face was full of reluctance and frustration. After a mouthful of black blood spurted out, she died on the spot. She took a lot of detoxification pills, but it didn't work at all. She only lasted for 20 breaths. This scene scared the hunchbacked old woman and her face changed suddenly. She struggled to get up and escape, but after several times, she was still weak all over. Her internal organs were festering and bleeding. No matter how powerful she couldn't save herself, and even her dantian was corroded. What a powerful poison. Are you a disciple of the 10,000 poison sect or a person from the Scorpio Mountain? The hunchbacked old woman panted and said, "We have no grudges against each other, why must you be so cruel? Aren't you afraid of offending the sixth prince? He is just a stray dog, so what if I offend him?" Wei Hong's leisurely voice came from a distance. "If I don't kill you today, I'm afraid there will be more trouble, so I can only offend you." "Why?" the hunchbacked old woman asked angrily. "Haha." Wei Hong sneered and was too lazy to say anything more. Why should I answer her doubts? Wouldn't it be more disgusting to die with doubts? Maybe they would never think until their death that the one who killed them was an inconspicuous executioner, and in the final analysis, it was just a palm in the execution ground in broad daylight? You don't have to pretend. Wei Hong sneered and said, "No matter how weak a Ancient Realm expert is, he can't die so quickly. You want to pretend to be weak and wait for me to come forward and then play a trick of cutting off the firewood? Dream on." After saying that, he took out a flare and released it into the sky. Swish! The fireworks instantly shot up into the sky. Slowly, a huge fireball exploded at a height of 100 feet. The next moment, the patrol camps and Imperial guards in the surrounding streets, and even the Ancient Realm experts standing on the tall buildings in the distance who were scanning the whole scene, also noticed this place. Something's going on, hurry. You, and you, follow me. Swish, swish, swish. A large number of soldiers were mobilized on the street. One after another, figures flew over from the eaves. The hunchbacked old woman was so angry that she vomited a mouthful of black blood and almost fainted on the spot. She did have the idea of pretending to be dead to trick the enemy over, and then capture the other party to ask for the antidote in order to turn the tables. But who would have thought that Wei Hong was so smart? He didn't even want to touch the corpse, and he didn't even plan to show his face from beginning to end. A signal flare made him desperate to the point of vomiting blood, and he had already quietly escaped far away. Damn beast! The hunchbacked old woman struggled to take concubine Sue's body with her. But it was too late. After 7 or 8 breaths, the eaves of the surrounding houses were full of martial arts masters, and she finally fell into a desperate situation. Chapter 202, Calm and Peaceful, a body immune to all poisons. Waste, you waste. If I hadn't been tricked by that bitch who just hid his head and showed his tail, how could you find me? Ha ha ha, waste? The hunchbacked old woman laughed miserably. I don't know if she was laughing at the stupidity of others or her own incompetence. Finally, her voice suddenly paused, and after a mouthful of black blood spurted out again, her head tilted and she fell to the ground and died. From beginning to end, the masters of the Imperial Army who had just arrived were all confused. What's going on? Why are there 2 bodies in the alley? One old and one young? Are they them? Quick, notify the adults. Search around immediately to see if there are any remaining enemies. Everyone was ecstatic and quickly protected the scene. When the several innate masters who were responsible for tracking arrived, they were also stunned for a long time. After all, no one could have thought that the enemy who had been tracking hard for most of the night would die here. Have you confirmed the identity? A blue-clothed swordsman asked. It has been confirmed. The commander of the Imperial Guards replied with a strange expression. Although the other party has changed their appearance, the characteristics of the innate realm strong are still easy to identify. In addition, concubine Sue has been in prison for several months, and there are traces of chains on her body. It is them. We just don't know who did it. There are traces of poison here. They should have a kind of poison that has never been seen before. Everyone frowned when they heard it. Although the people have been found now, they have all become corpses. It is even more complicated to find out who is involved behind the scenes. It is really a headache. Tisk. The blue-clothed swordsman chuckled and said, "What are you worried about? Our mission is to hunt down fugitives. What does other things have to do with us? The thieves had no way to escape under our step-by-step pressure, and finally committed suicide by taking poison. You should be happy. Oh. Everyone laughed after being stunned. Very good, very good. What murderer, what poisoning? It's nonsense. It's obvious that they were forced into a corner by us and finally committed suicide by taking poison. Thank you for your hard work. We have captured the fugitive so perfectly, the Emperor must be satisfied. Ha ha ha. Everyone tacitly stopped talking about other things and took the credit for themselves. As for the cause of death of concubine Sue and the hunchbacked old woman, and who is the person who shot tonight, they didn't care. Who would be so stupid as to find something to do for themselves? It's better to have a corpse to bring back than anything else. So far, an intensive search has come to an end for the time being. Although there are many doubts and it may involve an unknown person, no one is interested in investigating it. And they can't imagine that the sixth prince's wife died at the hands of a pig butcher. After one night, the storm calmed down. The patrol camp and the imperial guards were all withdrawn, and the capital of the gods once again returned to its former tranquility and prosperity, as if the noise of the night had never happened. Wei Hong continued to behead people at the execution ground every day. After a few days, the prison of the Ministry of Justice was finally completely emptied. As a result, he chopped off hundreds of heads and gained nearly 200,000 vitality points, making a lot of money. For this reason, the evil spirit on his body has become more and more intense. Now even people who have never practiced martial arts can see that something is wrong with him. Wei Hong doesn't need to do anything. He just needs to stand there, and he can exude a terrifying evil spirit like a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. A glance is enough to stop a child from crying. Within 100 feet, cats and dogs have to run away with their tails between their legs when they see him. This invisible evil spirit is hard to explain. In short, Wei Hong has killed thousands of pigs and sheep over the years, and has chopped off as many as 4,000 or 5,000 heads. I am afraid that there are few people more vicious than him, even if you search the entire Zhou army. Unknowingly, Wei Hong has become a well-known figure on the streets of Anlifang. No matter if it is the neighbors or the gangsters, they have to give him some face when they see him. The neighbors who used to call him Hongir affectionately now become reserved and flattering, calling him Master Wei. Now, he is only 18 years old. It took Wei Hong 2 years to grow from a poor kid in the slums who was bullied by everyone to Master Wei in the mouths of the neighbors, and he suffered countless hardships during this period. But he thinks all this is worth it. At least he has the ability to support his grandfather. After the storm, Wei Hong was not at peace for a few days, and he couldn't help but go to Luoshan several times. After all, the poisonous grass and fierce beasts here are still very attractive to him. Due to Zhang Yuanqi's intervention, the attention of Tixun Pavilion has been attracted by the Wandu sect. The fight between the two sides is not surprising to outsiders. In short, the Wandu sect will support Wei Hong if the sky falls. It is naturally very safe for him to go to Luoshan now. In order to practice the 10,000 poison palm as quickly as possible, he gradually began to swallow poison. He took all kinds of poisonous insects, scorpions, poisonous things, and poisonous wine. He took them all and absorbed the poison directly into his left hand. Under his sleeves, his left hand almost turned pure black. He was also attached with poison when he used his palm to send out the dark power. He could release amazing toxicity when he raised his hand. When practicing, the grass and trees within a radius of dozens of feet would turn yellow. He could be said to be a walking human-shaped poison. Due to his strength, he was only in the middle stage of the bone-refining realm. Wei Hong did not dare to integrate the terrifying toxin of ice evil poison into his body. However, he estimated that his own toxins could only threaten the peak of the bone-refining realm at most. If he added more, he would not be able to bear it first. Such a strong poison, such a terrifying 10,000 poison palm. Zhang Yuanqi couldn't help but secretly smack his lips after seeing him practice the martial arts. How did you do it? I remember that although the 10,000 poison palm is powerful, it also has its limits. How can you store such a powerful toxin in your body without affecting yourself? Maybe, I have a special physique. Wei Hong had no choice but to use this panacea excuse. But Zhang Yuanqi believed it firmly. After all, he really couldn't think of anything else to explain it. In the history of my 10,000 poison sect, I have really met many people with special physiques. They are born to practice poison bodies. I'm afraid you are one of them. Zhang Yuanqi said regretfully, It's a pity that you don't want to join my 10,000 poison sect, otherwise you will become a genius that our sect rarely sees in 100 years. Haha. Wei Hong laughed awkwardly and didn't say anything. He could remember the favor of the 10,000 poison sect this time, but he would never join them. After all, a sect is involved in too many grievances and hatreds. If he joined them, he would definitely cause more trouble. What a pity. Jiang Yuanka shook his head helplessly. If you join our sect and learn the 10,000 Poison Sutra, you may really be able to cultivate the legendary body of 10,000 poisons. Body of 10,000 poisons. Wei Hong's eyes lit up. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 203, Chen Jianitun, The Secret Story of the Three Immortals Sect. Wei Hong had also seen records of the 10,000 poison body in many books in the grotto. It is said that this is a special physique after practicing the 10,000 poison sect's supreme classics to the extreme. People with this physique are not only not afraid of all the poisons in the world, but also have amazing toxins all over their bodies. A mouthful of saliva can poison the people of a county. It can be said that he is a walking terrifying poisoner, and even the innate realm dare not approach him casually. In comparison, Wei Hong's 10,000 poison palm is more like a castrated version of the 10,000 poison body. Only one palm is poisonous, and the effect is much weaker. However, Wei Hong is still very satisfied with this. One palm is enough. Why join the 10,000 poison sect just to be poisoned all over the body? The consequences of being controlled by others are not pleasant. Wei doesn't like constraints. Wei Hong said apologetically, I am afraid that I will not have the chance to learn the supreme classics of your sect in this life, but I am lucky to learn the 10,000 poison palm. Wei will definitely repay you in the future. Okay. Jiang Yuanka nodded and said nothing more. After a few months of getting along, he probably knew Wei Hong's character. This man was sentimental, righteous, and had his own opinions. Once he had made up his mind, he would not change it. Therefore, he did not want to persuade him too much. Let everything take its course. If Wei Hong achieved something in the future and helped the Wundu sect a little, he would have accumulated some connections for his own sect, which would not be a loss. By the way, Jiang Yuanka said without raising his head, you don't have to worry about the Tixun Pavilion. They will not track you down again. Thank you. Wei Hong nodded as expected. Although he did not know what agreement the Wundu sect and the Tixun Pavilion had reached, this matter was always covered up. In order to repay a favor, he owed a new favor. Jianghu affairs have always been like this. I don't know whether I should be happy or sad. In addition, Jiang Yuanka continued, you should be careful in the divine capital recently. Don't provoke the people of the Three Immortal Sect, otherwise we in the Wundu sect will not dare to protect you at will. Three Immortal Sect. Wei Hong was confused. What kind of sect is this? He often went to tea houses to listen to stories. He could not say that he knew all the sects in the martial arts world, but he had heard of many of them. He had never heard of the Three Immortal Sect, which the 10,000 Poison Sect dared not to provoke. It's normal that you don't know. Jiang Yuanka showed a strange look on his face and sighed. Some forces in the world are extraordinary because of their fate with immortals. They are not something that ordinary sects can provoke. The royal family of the Great Zhou dynasty is one of the largest forces. In the past, the royal family had two immortal masters to suppress the luck. One died of old age a few years ago, and the other was driven away in the last battle for the throne. As for the one who supports the new emperor's enthronement, it is no other than the Three Immortal Sect that has been secretly developed in the southern states. It is rumored that they worship three female immortals, so they are named Three Immortals. Wei Hong frowned secretly. He couldn't help but think of the national teacher who was canonized at the beginning of the new emperor's enthronement. Recently, there has been a lot of construction in the capital of the gods. The new emperor not only spent a lot of money to build the national teacher's mansion, but also built a huge stargazing building for the other party. It can be said to be extremely extravagant and costly. But no civil or military official dared to say anything. Could it be that this national teacher is a member of the so-called Three Immortals sect? It's good that you have heard something. Jiang Yuanka continued, it is said that the current national teacher is a high-ranking member of the Three Immortals sect. Although I don't know why these people want to rule the Great Zhou, the Great Zhou today is no longer the Great Zhou of the past. The Three Immortals sect is very weird. Weird? How weird? Wei Hong became interested. I don't know. Jiang Yuanke hesitated to speak, and finally shook his head and said, in short, you should stay away from them and don't provoke them casually. The forces that are tainted with the methods of the immortals are not something that ordinary people can afford to provoke. Okay. Wei Hong nodded cautiously. Since he killed a hunchbacked old woman in the Xianshan realm, he had to admit that he was indeed a little arrogant, as if he had the ice evil poison in his hand, and there was no one in the world that he dared not provoke. Wei Hong knew that this mentality was very bad. But he was young and capable, so it was inevitable that his mentality was arrogant. Jiang Yuanke's words now completely woke him up, and he couldn't help but secretly warn himself in his heart to keep a low profile. There are thousands of capable people in the world, and he is only a mid-stage bone-refining realm, so he is not qualified to be arrogant. Especially this mysterious Three Immortals sect. In the future, he will avoid it if he can. He must not provoke it casually. After all, it is a force with immortal fate. Who knows what unknown means it has? If he deals with them according to ordinary people's thinking, he will definitely suffer a great loss. Assuming that he offended a certain force, Wei Hong's first reaction would definitely be to kill and quietly escape. But if he killed someone from the Three Immortals sect, the other party would have various magical means to find him. No matter how he escaped, wouldn't it be as ridiculous as a moth flying into a flame? Continue to develop the antidote. Jiang Yuanke shifted his attention and said with interest, recently, I have thought of a few more formulas. I don't know if they will work when I try them later. You can help me with some references. Okay. Wei Hong took his notes. The two continued to study. Suddenly, Wei Hong thought of a question. Mr. Jiang, do you know if there is a poison in the world that can kill immortal cultivators? Of course there is, and there are a lot. Jiang Yuanke said with envy, but this kind of poison mostly needs to be extracted from monsters and spiritual herbs. Dazhou is a place with sparse spiritual energy. You may not be able to find one even if you search through thousands of mountains and rivers. Where can you really find it? Unless what? Wei Hong asked. Unless you go to Shenzhen. Jiang Yuanke said seriously, there is a strange abyss in the northernmost part of Dazhou called Shenzhen. It is said that it was left behind after the ancient demons rebelled and the immortals saved the world. A shocking war broke out, and the immortal sword was sunk below. However, most of the ancient legends are unreliable. No one knows whether it is true or false. We only know that Shenzhen is very mysterious and is the top secret of the royal family of Dazhou. The army has been sent to guard and suppress it all year round. There has never been a day of slackness in the past 800 years. It is rumored in the world that there is another cave in Shenzhen. Not only does it produce some minerals that are useful to immortals, but you can even see immortal grass and monsters from time to time. Wei Hong's eyes were full of yearning when he heard it. If he could get poisonous immortal grass or hunt monsters with poisonous glands, what kind of Three Immortal sect is worth retreating? Doesn't he have to walk sideways in Dazhou? But it's ridiculous to think about it. If he can hunt monsters, I'm afraid he can kill the immortal cultivators without poisoning, right? It's useless to think too much. The world is so beautiful. I must take a look at it in the future. Wei Hong smiled lightly, and couldn't help but feel excited. He was confident that one day he would be able to see scenery that ordinary people couldn't see, and stand at the peak that ordinary people couldn't stand. He was just a cultivator, and he would kill him in the sun. Chapter 204, Three Immortals Enter the City, a repeat of the Yellow Turban Rebellion? Excuse me, a copy of the information about the Three Immortals. Wei Hong disguised himself as a thin, sallow-faced middle-aged man at the counter of Xianji Pavilion, and came directly to buy the information about the Three Immortals. Which grade of information do you want, A, B, C, or D? The middle-aged steward asked with a smile. Grade A. Okay. The middle-aged steward nodded and quoted, the Three Immortals are the top power in the Great Zhou dynasty, and Grade A information requires 80,000 taels. So expensive. Wei Hong interrupted hurriedly, what about Grade B? Grade B is 8,000 taels. The middle-aged steward said in a normal way, Grade C is 3,000 taels, and Grade D is 500 taels. I wonder which one you want. Give me Grade B. Okay, wait a moment. After a while, the middle-aged steward handed over a scroll, and after the payment and goods were settled, Wei Hong took the scroll and turned around and left Xianji Pavilion. Back home, he opened the scroll and examined it carefully. After a while, his face became strange. The Grade B intelligence of Xianji Pavilion is very detailed, from the general structure of the three immortal sect to the personnel composition, including their style of doing things and their movements in recent years are clearly marked. Xianji Pavilion is indeed the first intelligence organization in Dazhou. Just now he thought that it was too expensive to buy a piece of intelligence for thousands of taels, but now he sees that it is very worthwhile. This information is almost the same as what Zhang Yuanqi said. The three immortal sect is indeed a mysterious sect that originated in the southern prefectures. They believe in three female immortals and claim that believers can gain eternal life. Their style of doing things is very evil and their methods are very cruel. In just a few decades, the three immortal sect has spread in various prefectures in the south and laid a deep foundation. From high-ranking officials and wealthy families to ordinary people, they all worship it, and the number of believers has already exceeded 100 million. Taking advantage of the turmoil in Dazhou, the three immortal sect decisively intervened in the dispute between the crown prince and the sixth prince for the throne, and successfully supported the crown prince to ascend the throne. Now the national teacher of Dazhou is the cultivator hidden behind the scenes of the three immortals sect. In a time of great strife, humanity is uneasy. Wei Hong inexplicably felt a sense of crisis in his heart. Although he knew that he could not change anything, he did not want to become cannon fodder and be crushed by this rolling trend. The three immortal sects' development in the capital of the gods will inevitably conflict with local forces. At that time, I am afraid that there will be another round of open and secret struggles. It is not easy to live a peaceful life. 3 days later, the three immortal sect finally appeared in the capital of the gods. One after another, luxurious and lavish ships went upstream along the moat from the water and land docks, and finally sailed into the inner river of the capital of the gods. There is an arched city gate where the inner river connects to the moat. On weekdays, the river is isolated by iron fences and heavily guarded. It will not be easily opened on ordinary days. But today, the river is wide open, allowing the ships to enter the inner river. This scene amazed the people of the capital. The two sides of the river, shaded by willow trees, were already crowded with people watching the excitement. Wei Hong stood by the river to join in the fun and saw the lotus flag hanging on the deck of the ship. This is the symbol of the three immortals. They use the lotus to symbolize endless life and noble purity. The women in the sect all wear white clothes and white skirts, while the men wear green clothes. The clothes are embroidered with lotus patterns of different patterns according to their ranks. The ship was not in a hurry to dock. Instead, it traveled around the inland river throughout the capital. There were men and women chanting scriptures on the boat, and women also sprinkled petals on the shore, causing the people on the shore to rejoice. The three immortals have come to the world and love the world. If you are sincere and faithful, you can get eternal life. A series of melodious voices came. Wei Hong's face suddenly changed, and he subconsciously held his breath. He found that these chanting and reciting sounds were strange and had an inexplicable ability to disturb people's minds. Although this ability was very weak, he was able to detect it immediately with his calm mind. Confusing people's minds. Wei Hong murmured and looked at the people around him. He found that most people's eyes were inevitably dull, pious, and fanatical, like a believer who was hypnotized and brainwashed. Only some warriors with stronger strength or those with strong minds were not controlled. But even so, Wei Hong couldn't help but feel cold in his heart. What kind of sect is this? With such a means of bewitching people, no wonder it has developed hundreds of millions of believers in just a few decades. Although the Great Zhou has been turbulent for 800 years. But most of them are just power struggles and rebellions of princes. As long as the court controls the strongest army, these people can never make any big waves. But the three immortal sect is different. They bewitched people and mobilized the people. If they call for help from a high place, wouldn't it be a repeat of the Yellow Turban Rebellion? If Wei Hong were the emperor, he would probably not be able to sleep well. However, he was just a butcher after all. He could just laugh it off. Why worry too much? He turned around and walked towards the butcher shop. Along the way, he heard passers-by talking about it. The name of the three immortal sect began to spread widely, and its ability to create momentum was terrifying. Brother Wei, good news. As soon as he returned to the butcher shop, Luan Zioki came up to congratulate him in a low voice. What's the matter? Wei Hong was surprised. Haven't you always wanted to find a good place to train death warriors? Luan Zioki lowered his voice and said, there is a manor in the mountains 80 miles outside the city for sale. I think it's good. It's just right for us Tibetans. Oh. Wei Hong's eyes lit up and he couldn't help but think of a few months ago, when he and Luan Zioki conspired to train death warriors. At that time, he also came up with a secret technique of blood fusion that could increase the talent of cultivation tenfold. After practicing for a few months, Luan Zioki and other young people are becoming stronger day by day. Now he has entered the early stage of blood refining realm, and the others have reached the peak of skin refining realm. I believe that in 1 or 2 months, these young men will all enter blood refining realm. Within a year and a half, they will definitely enter bone refining realm. After 3 to 5 years, Wei Hong will definitely have a group of terrifying forces comparable to the Iron Blood Pavilion. Since his strength growth rate has slowed down, it is necessary to cultivate a group of external forces to act as ears and eyes. Do you know where it is? Let's go and take a look, Wei Hong said. Of course I know. Luan Zioki nodded and said, this villa was put on sale after the last house search. It is said that a second-rank official spent hundreds of thousands of taels of silver to build it for himself to raise a concubine. The location is remote and no one disturbs it. It is definitely a treasure land, but it's a pity that the price is a bit expensive. The price doesn't matter, as long as the place is suitable. Wei Hong waved his hand indifferently. It's definitely a suitable place. I'll take you to see it later. Luan Zioki introduced confidently. It's surrounded by mountains on 3 sides and faces the river on 1 side. There's no one living within a few miles. There's nothing else except a government road. Even if there's a big noise, it won't disturb others. Let's go, let's take a look first. After saying that, he excitedly led the way. Go straight to Song's Dental Clinic in Anlifang. Chapter 205 Guanshu Villa, Misty Rain Tower. In the afternoon, after changing their appearance, Wei Hong and Luan Zioki, together with a middle-aged manager of a pawnbroker, a coachman, and a servant, rode in a carriage to Guanshu Villa, 30 miles north of the city. The villa was built in the deep mountains, a mile-long winding mountain road away from the official road, with dense forests and deep mountains on both sides, which was very secluded and quiet. The villa covers an area of about 7 or 8 acres. Built on the mountain, with green tiles and red walls. There is a huge blue stone square at the entrance, with 2 Taoji stone statues at the entrance, and the gate is wide and imposing. At a glance, the houses are stacked and the attics are lined up, which looks very luxurious. 2 guests, please take a look. The middle-aged steward got off the carriage and hurriedly introduced, this manor is surrounded by mountains and rivers. You can see the surging rivers at a glance, and you can hear the sound of rain in the surrounding bamboo forests with your eyes closed. It is really an excellent place for enjoyment. It cost 470,000 taels of silver, and hired well-known craftsmen from Jiangnan to come and personally take charge. It took 3.5 years to build it. Every brick and tile is made of money. In addition, there is a gurgling mountain spring flowing into the backyard of the villa, and there is also a hot spring for people to enjoy. Soaking all year round can both drive away the cold and keep healthy. The middle-aged steward used his eloquence to describe this place. When I walked into the villa, I found that it was really good. Although no one had lived there for some days, it was still clean all around, which showed that someone swept and cleaned it on weekdays. There are a lot of houses built around the villa. Long corridors run through the surroundings, with a martial arts training ground, rockery in the garden, and wine cups flowing by the water. It can be said that every step is a scene, and it has the charm of a Jiangnan garden. How many people can live here? Wei Hong asked. 300 to 500 people is not a problem. The middle-aged steward said with a smile, the rich families travel with great pomp. A young lady usually has 60 or 70 people to serve her. If the house is not enough, wouldn't a manor be built in vain? That's right. Wei Hong nodded without saying much. Since it can accommodate hundreds of people, it is really suitable for training dead soldiers. A few secret sentries are arranged around the villa and on the nearby hills, so that everything around can be seen at a glance, and even a fly can't fly in easily. There are no villages or farmers around here. No matter how you toss, it won't alarm others. Although it is not very convenient to buy food, as long as you're careful, the secrets here will not be exposed. Manager Yi. Wei Hong made the final decision. I'll take it 300,000 taels. How about it? 300,000 taels? Impossible, absolutely impossible. The middle-aged manager shook his head in dissatisfaction. Sir, you know that a slightly better house in Chengdu costs tens of thousands of taels. If it is a large mansion, it will cost more than 100 or 80,000 taels. The land in the inner city is even more expensive. This place is not far from Chengdu and has picturesque scenery. The cost is already as high as 470,000 taels. How can it be sold for 300,000 taels? Sir, you are really... Wei Hong smiled and raised his hand to stop him. Manager Yu is also a shrewd person. He should know that too much is as bad as too little. Wei Hong said casually, how many wealthy families were killed when the new emperor ascended the throne? Countless shops, hills, manors, and farms are flowing into the market like water. Do you think they can still be sold at the previous price? No matter how close this place is to the capital of the gods, it is still 30 miles away. Even if you buy a broken mountain, it won't cost much. There are neither medicinal fields nor minerals, nor good farmland. Other manors are bought and some tenants are hired to farm, and there are huge profits every year. You bought this manor and can only take a hot spring bath. Do you really think I am a fool? The middle-aged manager's mouth twitched in embarrassment. He also knew what the market was like now, so he naturally couldn't refute it. There are always very few people in the world who indulge in sensual pleasures. After the new emperor ascended the throne, all the powerful families tried their best to keep a low profile. How could they dare to be extravagant as before? Therefore, this manor has not been sold for several months. Why wouldn't someone buy a manor with thousands of acres of fertile land and a stable monthly income for the same price? 300,000 taels is still too little. The middle-aged steward smiled bitterly. Would you like to add a little? Add 5,000 taels. Wei Hong smiled and lowered his voice. But these 5,000 taels belong to you, do you understand? Yes, I understand. The middle-aged steward's eyes lit up when he heard it, and he said with surprise, don't worry, sir, within 3 days, this manor will definitely belong to you. Okay. Wei Hong smiled with satisfaction. Spending 300,000 taels to take over this place is still a great value for him. After all, it's just his total income for 2 months. It's a good deal to buy such a large manor plus the surrounding mountains and forests. How is it? It's nice here. Luan Zhaoqi asked as if he was asking for credit. Wei Hong nodded, raised his hand to dismiss the middle-aged manager and others, then said, if I let you and your men stay here for a long time, will you get used to it? What's there to be used to? Luan Zhaoqi rubbed his hands and said, with the help of Xiao Wu and the other 8 people, I can't even train a group of teenagers who haven't even grown their hair yet. How can I have the face to hang out with you? Haha. Wei Hong laughed dumbly, patted his shoulder and said, in that case, you can set off tomorrow. Set off. Luan Zhaoqi was a little stunned. Wei Hong nodded and said, you have now broken through to the blood refining realm, and the others have also reached the peak of the skin refining realm. They may break through at any time. With this strength, you can still travel outside and ensure safety as long as you don't cause trouble. Since the venue has been found, there is no need to dawdle. I will give you 2 months to rent an inconspicuous ship to Suzhou and other places, and bring back some boys and girls aged 10 to 16. The number should be less than 200. Remember, they must be orphans with good appearance and intact hands and feet. Don't bring back any cats and dogs. We are not running a charity. Luan Zhaoqi nodded silently. He knew how much weight Wei Hong's words contained. In the chaotic land of the outer state, people are living in poverty, and selling children and eating their own children is a common thing. If he doesn't make a good plan in his kind, he may bring back a bunch of hungry children with broken hands and feet. Don't worry, I know. Luan Zhaoqi said bitterly, there are too many pitiful people in this world. Even if we want to, we can't help too many people. We can only become stronger first. Yet, Wei Hong nodded with relief. Saying these words proves that Zhaoqi still has brains. Remember, Wei Hong reminded again, you give yourself face when walking in the world. All of you disguise yourself as middle-aged men with fierce faces. You must be serious and don't embarrass yourself by pretending to be young people every day. Understood. Luan Zhaoqi chuckled, but since we are recruiting people from outside, we should have a name. What should we call it? Let's call it Yan'yu Tower. Wei Hong said slowly. Chapter 206, No Return, Young Grass Eats Old Cow. 2 days later, Guanshu Villa was transferred to Wei Hong's name and officially renamed Yan'yu Villa. Because he used a fake identity to buy it and the price was very low, it did not attract anyone's attention, and he successfully made this villa his own property. Then, Luan Xiaoqi and 9 other teenagers went out in disguise. They all disguised themselves as ferocious middle-aged men, and with good strength, no one would provoke them casually when they went out, and their safety was guaranteed. Wei Hong was too lazy to plan too many details for them. He asked Fantai to get them a ship from the water and land dock, and secretly hung the flag of Prince Duan's mansion, and swaggered south along the waterway. There are countless merchant ships docked at Prince Duan's mansion every year. Even if an inconspicuous ship is a fake identity, no one will pay attention to it. Moreover, Prince Duan's mansion has been controlling the smuggling channels for many years, and they have their people in various water bandits in the south and north. If nothing unexpected happens, no one should dare to stop Luan Xiaoqi and his party. A bunch of teenagers who have never left the capital of the gods. It is definitely a challenge for them to suddenly go to a state capital 1 or 2,000 miles away to perform a mission. Even if they are not careful, they may be wiped out and die outside. But the teenagers did not retreat at all. They silently said goodbye to their brothers and sisters at home and embarked on this road of no return without hesitation. Maybe they will never come back, but this is an order issued by Wei Hong, and they will not have any complaints even if they die. Next, Wei Hong began to prepare for their return. It is very simple to build the framework of Yan'anyu Tower. Just adopt a group of orphans and boys and girls in other states, but adopting 100 or 200 people is not an easy task. How to replenish daily food after starting training. How to supply medicine, tonics, and weapons. It is not difficult to buy all these things, but it is difficult to buy them in large quantities without leaking any wind. Once people know that he is secretly raising dead soldiers, it will be a big deal. At that time, no matter his identity as the butcher Wei Hong or the identity of Li Tizhu of Prince Duan's mansion, it would not be enough to suppress this matter. While Wei Hong was having a headache, he thought of the King Chamber of Commerce. Recently, Yan King's Chamber of Commerce has been in full swing. Since the news of his breakthrough to the bone refining realm has spread, she has boldly opened a few more branches. Her Chamber of Commerce is involved in 7 or 8 industries and has 18 branches. Every month, it makes a lot of money and is thriving. The whole person is much brighter. Miss Yan is very elegant. It seems that she is in a good mood recently. On the second floor of the King Chamber of Commerce headquarters, Wei Hong and Yan King sat opposite each other, brewing tea and drinking tea. The curling tea fragrance reflected her delicate and beautiful eyebrows, which made people feel relaxed and happy. Even a man with a mind like Wei Hong couldn't help but take a few more glances. Master Li, you are joking. Yan King smiled as she brewed tea with her bare hands. If it weren't for your blessing, how could our small chamber of commerce develop so rapidly? You are still capable. Almost every store you open can make money. Now you have a lot of say in the Xianji Business Alliance. Wei Hong reminded with appreciation, but Li is incompetent. It is better for King Chamber of Commerce to maintain its current size. If it continues to expand and attracts the covetousness of some powerful people, I can't protect it. I understand. Yan King nodded obediently and dared not have any opinions. After all, she understood this truth better than anyone else. In fact, with the current size of King Chamber of Commerce, it is not impossible to find other strong people in the bone refining realm to bless her. It is even possible for her to grit her teeth and find a strong person in the organ refining realm to bless her. But she didn't dare, and she didn't want to. She had seen too many strong people bullying the weak for fun, eating them alive, peeling their skin and pulling out their tendons, and then crushing their bones and scattering their ashes. With her beauty, if she met an unreasonable strong man, the other party would definitely take over the entire King Chamber of Commerce with thunderous means, and even she would not be able to keep her innocence. But the seemingly vicious but actually kind and righteous Wei Hong in front of her was different. He only took 20% of the monthly profit of the Chamber of Commerce, worked for money, was honest and capable, and it was really hard to find such a backer. Master Li Wu, rest assured. King Chamber of Commerce will advance and retreat with you. Yan King promised playfully, every time you advance to a smaller realm in the future, I will open a few more branches. If you never make any progress in your life, my King Chamber of Commerce will keep guarding these branches and will never be greedy. You are a smart person. Wei Hong laughed dumbly and couldn't help joking, but you are good looking and have a good family background. You can enjoy a peaceful life if you marry a good family. Why bother running around all day outside? Master Li Wu doesn't know. Yan King couldn't help but look gloomy when talking about this. She sighed and said, scholars, farmers, merchants and artisans. Merchants are worse than slaves in the eyes of the rich and powerful. With my status, there is no chance for me to marry into a better family. If I become a concubine of a powerful person, I would have some chance, or if I marry an old widower, I could barely make ends meet, but that's not what I want. Over the years, countless people have proposed marriage to my family. Either they value my beauty, or they want to eat up my Yan family. It's really. Yan King couldn't help but wipe the tears from her eyes. It can be seen that the marriage issue also brought her a lot of pressure. Suddenly, she couldn't help but raise her beautiful eyes and said with blushing cheeks, I wonder if Master Li Wu is married. Huh? Wei Hong was confused. He looked like Li Tzu after the disguise, and he was a silly guy. He was big and strong with a fierce face. He was not handsome at all, and he was already in his 30s. Whether in the past life or this life, this age is considered an old man, right? This little girl is only 16 or 17 years old, and she is actually thinking about eating young grass and old cows? Second Miss Yan, what are you doing? Wei Hong hesitated and said, although Li has not married yet, I am afraid that he is old enough to be your father, and my appearance and background are really. His indescribable appearance made Yan King laugh. It also quietly blew away the shyness in her heart, and she couldn't help but said softly, a man's appearance and talent are secondary, and it doesn't matter if he is older, and his family background is even less important. In this world, you have the ability to protect your family, and the most important thing is to have a bottom line in your heart. Wei Hong's face was a little strange. He didn't expect Yan King to think so highly of him. But think about it, you know that a weak woman who wants to support the family must find someone to rely on, otherwise it will be like a child carrying gold through a busy market, and sooner or later he will be eaten up. If a man like Wei Hong can marry her, it will be a good support for both her and King Chamber of Commerce. A smart woman like Yan King naturally knows how to make choices. Wei Hong shook his head and smiled, thank you for your kindness, Miss Yan, but Li has no plans to get married for the time being. This time I came here to trouble you to help me secretly buy some things. After speaking, he directly handed over a list. It can be regarded as quietly changing the subject. Chapter 207, Immortal Treasure? Yan King's Heart. List. Yan King took the list and glanced at it in surprise. He couldn't help but reveal a trace of doubt. This list listed a large number of daily necessities, including food, clothing, medicine for wounds, tonics and other items. The volume was so large that it could feed hundreds of people. Master Li Wu, what are you doing? Yan King hesitated. It's inconvenient to tell you the purpose. Wei Hong said in a deep voice, it's just that a friend of mine needs these things, so I want Miss Yan to help raise them secretly. The price can be deducted from my monthly dividends. I'm afraid this won't work. Yan King smiled bitterly and declined. Our Chamber of Commerce was established not long ago, and there are spies from other families everywhere in the shop. Now it has not been cleared out at all, and it is difficult to ensure that it is truly top secret. A discerning person can see that there is something wrong with so many things. They are either raising private soldiers or colluding with bandits. I am not worried about getting involved, but I am afraid that it will ruin your big plan, Master Li Wu. After that, Yan King tactfully said no more. She just continued to make tea for him obediently. Wei Hong's eyes flickered slightly and he realized that this matter was not simple. The most important thing for the new emperor to ascend the throne is stability. Anyone who does things secretly will be easily targeted. He can naturally see through the problems that Yan King can see through. It's just that he subconsciously had some luck before and didn't think rigorously enough. But Yan King winked playfully at this time and said in a low voice, our family has a manor outside the city. Many rooms are specially vacated inside to serve as warehouses. If the goods in the house are accidentally stolen, it is also possible. Oh. Wei Hong laughed when he heard it. This method is not bad. The King Chamber of Commerce involves multiple industries and a variety of goods. No matter how many, it is not easy to attract the attention of others. Moreover, if something is missing in the warehouse every now and then, it will not be implicated in her head. This little girl is very smart in doing things. You are taking so much effort to help me. Don't you want me to marry into your family? Wei Hong laughed and joked. Yan King's pretty face turned red, and she stammered, how dare I let a strong man in the bone refining realm marry into my family? I just want to find you to form a marriage. If you don't like it, I have 2 younger sisters at home." Her face turned pale as she spoke. Tears welled up in her eyes, making it hard for people to refuse. But Wei Hong still shook his head and said, "I am not very interested in marriage. If you are not very interested in women, you can just have a title after marriage, and you don't have to sleep in different rooms." Yan King bargained weakly. "Who said I am not very interested in women?" Wei Hong argued with a strange look on his face. "Don't you think I am interested in men?" Bah, don't talk nonsense. Pudgy." Yan King was amused. She blushed and coughed for a long time before stopping, saying, "In short, in this world, women who don't marry are at a disadvantage, and marrying the wrong person is even more disadvantageous. I would rather marry someone I know well, even if it's just a reputation. Such a marriage is like a business deal." Wei Hong smiled and shook his head. "Of course, you will benefit a lot from marrying me, but it will not benefit me at all. It is also easy for people to use my family as a weakness because of the marriage, so why should I do such a loss-making business?" Yan King fell silent. A trace of surprise flashed in her bright eyes, and she was obviously shocked by these remarks. After all, with her beauty, countless men drooled over her, and she never expected that she would be so despised. But think about it. If there is no emotion between men and women, we can only talk about value. Wei Hong's greatest value is his military power. What does she have? Yan King's eyes lit up as she thought about it, and she couldn't help but smile. "Since we are talking about business, I will naturally not let Li Wuxi suffer a loss. A woman's appearance is just a withered beauty. In less than 20 or 30 years, she will be old and faded. She is indeed extremely attractive to ordinary men, but it should not be a bargaining chip for people like you. But the King Chamber of Commerce is thriving. If you want to secretly build your own power, it must be much more convenient to have a Chamber of Commerce to provide you with support in secret, right?" Yan King is a smart woman. She looked at the list that Wei Hong took out just now and knew that he was definitely going to cultivate a group of confidants, so he emphasized her value. There is nothing wrong with talking about business in business. If a woman only has the characteristic of appearance, then she is really not worth much. But if she is in charge of a small chamber of commerce that is stable and profitable and can help do many things, then her value will naturally be much higher. Interesting. Wei Hong smiled with interest and raised his hand to signal her to continue. Yan King gritted her teeth and continued, "From now on, 70% of the monthly profits of King Chamber of Commerce will belong to you. Even if you want to support hundreds of people, it should be enough. In addition, the Chamber of Commerce can collect all kinds of cotton clothes, food, weapons, medicines, and secret manuals of martial arts. In addition, my grandfather left behind a treasure that is suspected to be inherited from the immortals. If you marry me, it will also be yours." Wei Hong's originally nonchalant face immediately became solemn. Immortal inheritance? Many forces and families in Dojo claim that they had immortal fate and that their ancestors had cultivated immortals. However, the true methods of immortals are extremely rare, and many people may not even encounter them in their entire lives. Now Yan King actually said that she had the inheritance of immortals? This made Wei Hong feel a little weird and absurd. "I'm not kidding," Yan King said hesitantly. "My grandfather was a thief in the martial arts world. It is said that he was also famous when he was young, but his identity was kept secret to prevent revenge from his enemies. My mother has been living in seclusion since she married into the Yan family. One day, my grandfather was seriously injured and died after leaving something behind. Before my mother passed away, she asked me to keep this thing well and not to reveal it to anyone. Until today, I have never let anyone know." After saying that, she fumbled around on her body for a while. Finally, an inconspicuous hollow iron ball appeared in the palm of her hand. This small iron ball is hollow, about the size of a pigeon egg, with a large number of mysterious runes carved on the surface, and it can be vaguely seen that a piece of paper as thin as a cicada's wing is stored inside. This. Wei Hong's face was solemn. He took the ball in disbelief and couldn't help asking, "How do you know that this thing is related to immortal fate? If it is related to immortal fate, why did you give it to me? I'm not sure whether this thing is really related to immortal fate." Yan King smiled bitterly, "But if it is really related to the immortal cultivators, once it is leaked out, everyone in our Yan family will die. Even if we voluntarily give it away, there is a high probability that we will be unlucky, so we can only keep it in our hands." "That's right. Wei Hong couldn't help but nodded secretly. Chapter 208, Ghost Controlling Technique and Keeping Promises. For ordinary people, having a secret treasure is never a happy thing. Yan King is a smart woman. She can neither eat nor drink nor practice with this immortal fate. Why not give it away in exchange for a stable life? I have to say that her vision is really good. Wei Hong is the best person to take over her hot potato. Once it is confirmed that there is indeed immortal fate in it, he will be a great favor. From then on, not only can she rest assured, but even her relatives behind her can benefit from it. This bait is really. Wei Hong shook his head and smiled bitterly with a complicated expression. In the end, he chose to swallow the bait. He carefully opened the hollow ball, and saw a thin gauze silk as thin as a cicada's wing stored inside, with densely written words similar to ancient small seal characters on it, and it was hard to tell what it was for a while. I have looked up various texts in the past 1,000 years, but I still can't find the source of this text. Yan King said apologetically, I can only roughly see that it may be a spell. It is indeed a spell. Wei Hong murmured with a strange look on his face. Although he couldn't understand these words, the system had already included them without distinction. At this moment, there was an additional spell skill on the panel. Ghost Controlling Technique, a primary technique of the Ghost Way, which can control ordinary ghosts to attack. It is afraid of the most yang and strong spells and martial arts. The current proficiency is 1/5,000 for entry. Huh? Wei Hong raised his eyebrows slightly, revealing a hint of surprise. I didn't expect that there was a ghost spell hidden inside. But he is not a cultivator yet. Can he use this spell himself? The answer surprised him very much. From the system's detailed analysis of the skill, he found that this ghost control technique was just a most rubbish pseudo-spell, which even the most basic cultivators look down on. It doesn't look like the mysterious spells of the cultivators to fly into the sky and hide in the ground. Instead, it is more like a trick of raising ghosts in the mortal world, but with some methods of cultivating immortals. My name is Qi Lu. I have been hesitating for half my life because of my shallow talent and lack of immortality. I have spent 10 years to create a ghost controlling technique for my descendants. This method cannot be practiced by those who are not rich in blood and essence. Raising ghosts and spirits can easily damage your lifespan. Remember not to indulge in it. Be careful. Wei Hong silently savored the text translated by the system. He couldn't help but reveal a complicated look. It turned out that this was a pseudo-ghost controlling technique created by a person who failed in the pursuit of immortality for his descendants. Although it is not as good as the real immortal cultivation magic, it is also extremely magical in the mortal world. It allows people to use their own blood and essence to feed ghosts and infants in the way of raising ghosts, so as to achieve the purpose of driving them for their own use. This kind of ghost is just a ghost. It is very useful for scaring mortals and detecting the surrounding enemies on weekdays, but it is difficult to get close to a martial artist with surging blood and ki. No wonder the classics record that it is afraid of the most masculine and most powerful spells and martial arts, and even the little ghost is afraid of thunder. This. Wei Hong's face froze and he was a little speechless. Ghost and GUI have the same pronunciation, but they are not of the same level. Ghosts are just spirits. Unless they advance to the body of fierce ghosts, they are of little use. GUI are indescribable and ineffable things. They are mysterious and even cultivators are afraid of them, so they are more advanced and terrifying. Ghosts can be controlled by means, but GUI cannot be controlled at all. So, this spell is not very useful. Wei Hong analyzed seriously. No, we shouldn't make such a conclusion. Any spell is useful, but there is a lack of people who are interested in exploring it. If I push it to the limit, will there be any changes? Even if this spell is just ordinary, as long as the little ghost has enough blood to cultivate it, it will continue to become stronger, and what I lack the least is blood and blood. Although it is clearly recorded on the silk that raising ghosts is easy to shorten one's life, what am I afraid of? If I lack life, I can just add some. After a summary, Wei Hong still decided to accept this spell. After all, pseudo-spells are also spells, which are not something that ordinary warriors can touch at will. It is also the first special method he has touched. Maybe it can really be of great use. Miss Yanner, this thing is of great use to me. Wei Hong accepted this small ball and said, no matter what, I have accepted your favor. Here I can promise you that even if we don't get married, I will do my best to protect King Chamber of Commerce for 10 years. This promise is not light. After all, How many 10 years can a person have in his life? Even married men and women dare not guarantee that they will not change their minds for 10 years, right? But Wei Hong dared. Since he could say this, it meant that he would definitely do it. Unless he encountered force majeure within 10 years, no matter what happened, he would try his best to protect the King Chamber of Commerce. And a Chamber of Commerce must be able to accumulate huge wealth in 10 years. Even if Yan King wanted to train a group of new bone refining masters by herself, it was not impossible. Therefore, this promise was very heavy. Yan King breathed a sigh of relief, and she said with surprise on her face, "I hope this thing is useful to you. I wonder what kind of magic it is." Ghost control technique. Wei Hong answered honestly, "The technique of raising ghosts with special means is not a real technique of immortal cultivators, but it is still a bit deterrent to mortals." Ghost? Yan King swallowed nervously, and finally felt a little scared. She thought it was some powerful magic, and treasured it for many years. Her grandfather lost his life because of it. It was ridiculous to think about it. If she knew that this was a ghost-controlling technique, she would have discarded it long ago. Of course, this is not the point now. She mustered up the courage to ask again, "So Master Li Wu still doesn't want to marry me?" "It's not that I don't want to," Wei Hong said solemnly. "Miss Yan is beautiful, intelligent, and well-behaved. Any man who sees her can't help but be moved. Naturally, I am willing to marry her. It's just that I have risen from obscurity and have always been cruel and ruthless. I have offended countless enemies and it is easy to cause trouble for my family. I'm not afraid." Yan King didn't know where she got the courage from, and she interrupted him with a red face. A pair of beautiful eyes stared at him like the reflection of autumn water. Wei Hong was slightly stunned, and asked solemnly, "I have many fake identities, but my real identity is a poor boy who is not presentable. Do you want to marry this fake identity that can help you? Or do you want to marry me in person? Myself?" Yan King said decisively. "Okay." Wei Hong was silent for a long time, and finally raised his hand and wiped his face. His muscles and bones changed slightly, and a handsome face was completely exposed. Yan King's pupils widened and his mouth opened slightly. His eyes were immediately shrouded in a variety of complex emotions. Chapter 209, The Dragon Hides in the Deep and in the Wild. In the evening, the sky was filled with rosy clouds, and everything was so beautiful that it didn't look like a mortal world. Yan King sat in the private room for an afternoon, feeling dizzy as if she was dreaming. Her face was red and white, and she could giggle from time to time. Such abnormal behavior inevitably made the Chamber of Commerce worry. Shopkeeper Zhao was nervous for a long time and finally couldn't help but knock on the door gently. "Second miss, what are you doing?" "Uncle Zhao, I'm fine." Yan King waved her hands in a panic, wanting to say something but finally couldn't say anything. After all, she was embarrassed to say that she took the initiative to offer the ghost-controlling technique to get the opportunity to marry Wei Hong, which made her as a girl embarrassed and shy. But she was very grateful for her initiative. Who would have known that Li Tizhu, who looked fierce in his 30s, was actually an 18-year-old handsome young man. At the age of 18, she couldn't imagine how bright the future of such a person would be. At the same time, Yan King also felt a heavy trust. Wei Hong, who had a lot of fake identities but was willing to meet in person, meant that he was willing to accept her, which made her secretly moved and delighted. A silly smile and longing appeared on her pretty face again. "Miss, what are you laughing at?" Shopkeeper Zhao reminded silently, "You have been staying here since you met with Master Li Wu. Many things in the Chamber of Commerce are waiting for your decision. Is there any good news?" "No, no." Yan King covered up incoherently. "I was just thinking about the Chamber of Commerce." "Yes, it's the Chamber of Commerce. Uncle Zhao, you go down first." "Okay." Shopkeeper Zhao didn't think much about it, nodded and wanted to leave. Yan King suddenly stopped him and asked, "Uncle Zhao, what do you think is the reason why a person who is obviously powerful deliberately hides himself? Maybe it's to avoid enemies, maybe it's because he likes to keep a low profile." Shopkeeper Zhao answered casually, "The dragon hides in the abyss and hides in the wild. There are all kinds of people in a place like Chengdu where there are all kinds of people. People who don't like to be in the limelight can always live longer than others." Yan King nodded silently after hearing this. A smile appeared on the corner of her mouth involuntarily. Thinking about Wei Hong, who was only 18 years old, but always liked to disguise himself as a rough man in his 30s, she couldn't help but laugh. "Miss, Shopkeeper Zhao hesitated and said, "Today, Mr. Sun sent someone to send a visiting card again. What do you think? It's him again." Yan King couldn't help but frown secretly. In this world, the beauty of women has never been a blessing, but mostly a disaster. Since she was 13 or 14 years old, her reputation for beauty has spread, and I don't know how many people want to come to her house to marry her. Especially after the dramatic changes in her family. Outsiders are greedy for money and lust. I don't know how many people want to have sex with her and take her money with them. Today, a certain nobleman invites her, and tomorrow a certain lady acts as a matchmaker to intercede. She often encounters a down-and-out handsome scholar on the street corner, or is pursued by a down-and-out powerful son. She experiences this almost every day. Fortunately, Yan King has been with her father in the business world since she was a child, and she has long been accustomed to people's hearts. After the family turmoil, she has no love in her mind, so those who want to cheat money, sex, and feelings have all failed. But some things are not something she can refuse. In the past, she could still use her young age to prevaricate and not want to get married. But as she grew older, her appearance became more beautiful, and more people thought about her, and there were even some powerful sons among them, which made her fearful and helpless. Therefore, she was desperate and wanted to find Wei Hong to marry her. I thought that although he was old, he was also affectionate and righteous. Although his strength in the bone-refining realm was not very strong, it was enough to protect her. But who would have thought that he would find a treasure? Yan King seemed to have put down that huge stone in her heart. She looked up at shopkeeper Zhao and said, "Uncle Zhao, please refuse for me. Just say that King is preparing to discuss marriage and it is not convenient to accept any invitations from other men. The invitations from the ladies of various families should also be temporarily rejected. Discuss marriage." Shopkeeper Zhao was stunned. "Go, just say so." Yan King blushed and dared not say more. Shopkeeper Zhao was half believing and half doubting and didn't say anything more. He bowed and retreated. Yan King looked at the sunset outside the window, sighed, and didn't know what to say. She was happy or worried. She was happy that she was about to get someone to rely on. She was also worried that her beauty would bring trouble to Wei Hong. All emotions finally turned into a sigh. What? You want to get married? When he returned home in the evening, Wei Hong casually mentioned the matter of getting married at the dinner table. Old Wei, Grandma Wang, Qiuju and others were naturally surprised and complicated. In fact, Wei Hong himself was in a complicated mood. He never planned to get married, but by various coincidences, he inexplicably got a wife. It was quite strange to think about it. You don't have to guess that Yan King is in a lot of trouble because of her beauty and wealth. She urgently needs to marry herself off to get rid of some people's thoughts. Although Wei Hong has never considered getting married, he doesn't dislike Yan King. He even has some good feelings for this young, beautiful, generous, polite and knowledgeable girl. By chance, because a ghost-controlling technique broke his last reserve, he inexplicably agreed to it. Now he thinks about it and is a little dizzy. It's good to get married, good boy. Old Wei was very happy. He said excitedly, "Whose girl is it? If she is willing to marry you, you can't let her down. We have to propose marriage right away." "Grandpa Wei, don't be too excited." Qiuju covered her mouth and chuckled. "Brother Wei is young and promising, and it is only a matter of time before he gets married. In the future, he may marry a lot of concubines and have a lot of children." "That's right." Grandma Wang was rarely happy. "Brother Hong is indeed old enough to get married. I wonder which girl has this blessing." "The second daughter of the Yan family of King Chamber of Commerce," Wei Hong said slowly. "Who?" Qiuju gasped in shock. Wei Hong laughed dumbly and said again, "Second Miss Yan, Yan King, your boss." This? Qiuju was a little dumbfounded. Obviously, she didn't expect that her own beautiful second daughter, Yan, would have a relationship with a pig butcher. The two are going to get married? Is she dreaming? Why? Do you think I'm not worthy of her? Wei Hong asked with a chuckle. "Brother Wei, you are kidding, right? Although you are now the boss of a butcher shop, the second young lady is in charge of a chamber of commerce, and all the people she deals with are young ladies from powerful and noble families. How could it be possible? How could it be possible?" Qiuju stopped talking in embarrassment. In fact, it all comes down to one sentence. Wei Hongming's status is not worthy of Yan King. In short, Qiuju reminded with a worried look, I heard that there are quite a few people who are interested in the second young lady. Your status cannot suppress it, and sooner or later you will get into big trouble. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 210, Spiritual Pupils, Raising Ghost Servants. Chuju's worries are actually not without reason. In any era, beauties are often accompanied by disasters. If a man does not have enough money, power, and status, but has a beautiful woman that other men are thinking about, he is not far from disaster. Wu Daling is the most typical example. Wei Hong is just a pig butcher in the eyes of outsiders. Even if he is an executioner in the Ministry of Justice, he is still a commoner like the lower 9 classes. How can he marry such a beautiful woman as Yan King? Among her suitors, there are many illegitimate children of aristocratic families. These people may be low-class goods in their own families, but in the eyes of outsiders, they are still the children of powerful nobles who are high above. If they knew that Yan King looked down on them, but married a pig butcher, how can these people suppress their anger? In the end, I am afraid that it will all burn on him. Haha. Wei Hong naturally understood the key point. He curled his lips and smiled lightly, saying, "The way of the world is to fight, and the way of a warrior is no more than this. Although I am a low-key person, it is not good to keep giving in. If I have to be timid to marry a wife, it is really unreasonable. What is the point of my years of hard practice in martial arts? If she dares to marry, I dare to marry. If anyone has any objections, just kill them." As he spoke, Wei Hong's eyes burst out with amazing pride. Killing pigs cannot drown his pride, and being low-key is never cowardly. Yan King, a weak woman, can still stick to her original intention in this world and not bow down to the powerful and noble. Why doesn't he dare to accept her? If he dares not marry because he is afraid of offending people, Wei Hong is afraid that he will look down on himself like this. Since we are getting married, what should we prepare? Old Wei also saw the seriousness of the matter. While smoking a pipe, he sighed bitterly. "It's all because of my uselessness that Hongir is afraid to marry a wife now, Alice." "Grandpa, you don't have to be like this." Wei Hong smiled indifferently. "Young people have their own way of living. If I have to rely on the elders for help in marrying, then I am too useless." "Yes. Hongir is a capable child." Grandma Wang sighed with relief. "Children and grandchildren have their own blessings, and we old bones should not get involved." "That's right." Old Wei smiled, "But although our family is a small family, it's not good to treat a girl badly. When should we propose marriage? What gifts should we prepare? Should we move to a bigger house? We should think about these, right? It's not good to let the girl down." Wei Hong fell silent. In fact, he and Yan King didn't talk about these. After just a quick meeting of their true faces, the two of them went their separate ways in embarrassment. After all, which decent unmarried man and woman would have the nerve to talk about these things by themselves? "I'll ask a matchmaker to come to our house another day, so you don't have to worry about it, Grandpa." Wei Hong rubbed his brows and stopped thinking about it, and urged everyone to go back and rest. Getting married is a troublesome thing. Although he was afraid of trouble, he had to get busy. At night Wei Hong had no sleepiness at all, so he simply left home early and headed straight for the North Street Keishakao. The art of controlling ghosts records that if you want to control ghosts, you have to use high-quality locust trees to carve puppets, and then go to execution grounds, haunted houses, mass graves and other places to find wandering souls, and smear your own blood on the locust tree puppets to guide the wandering souls to attach to them. It's not easy to leave the city at night. It's too far to go to the mass graves outside the city. Wei Hong simply came to the execution ground, where people would be beheaded every now and then. He would never believe that there were no wandering ghosts. Many of them were probably killed by him. Who knows if they would remember him as the executioner after they turned into ghosts. There was a gust of cold wind around the execution ground late at night. It seemed that the moonlight could not reach here, and there was not even a cat or dog around. The patrol camp seemed to deliberately avoid this place when patrolling, which was particularly gloomy and terrifying. However, mortal eyes cannot see ghosts. Wei Hong had no choice but to choose to add points to the ghost controlling technique. Its entry proficiency was as high as 5,000, which was 50 times that of the leather refining realm technique. It takes a total of 240,000 vitality points to max it out. Wei Hong looked at the 1.38 million vitality points he had accumulated, and finally gritted his teeth and maxed it out generously. Ling. The ghost controlling technique has reached mastery. Ling. The ghost controlling technique has reached minor success. Ling. The ghost control technique has reached its limit, and the innate skill spiritualize has been awakened. The eyes can see ghosts and spirits, and the deterrence against enemies increases by 50%, and the deterrence against ghosts and spirits plus 300%. In an instant, various ghost control techniques intertwined in Wei Hong's mind, and he began to absorb, comprehend, and integrate them. His understanding seemed to have skyrocketed by tens of millions of times, and he integrated many obscure information at once. A small ghost control technique seems to be just a pseudo-spell. But in fact, it records various small techniques for communicating with spirits, controlling ghosts, exorcising ghosts, and raising ghosts. Although it is not systematic, it also opened his eyes and gave him a preliminary understanding of the way of ghosts. At this moment, a trace of blue spiritual light flashed in his eyes. The originally dark and gloomy streets around him immediately changed drastically. At a glance, he even saw wisps of red, black, and gray air. They floated around the execution ground for a long time and refused to dissipate. Wei Hong recognized at a glance that these were clearly the evil spirits, resentment, and ghost spirits that had been recorded in the art of controlling ghosts. As for himself, there was also a strong evil spirit that could not be dispersed. Layers of red evil spirits lingered around him, and there were also various resentments and residual souls, which made him look as terrifying as a demon. Wei Hong was also quite helpless about this. It would be strange if he didn't have a strong evil spirit from slaughtering pigs and beheading people all year round. If he met a Taoist priest with real skills, he would have to seal him as a peerless demon. However, the spiritual pupil skill is still very useful. Now the ghosts and spirits can no longer hide in his eyes. With a glance, he found that in the corners around the execution ground, there were groups of residual souls floating around. They were either a group of black air or not in human form. Occasionally, one or two that became human forms were stupid without any intelligence. The most basic form of ghosts is wandering souls. They are muddle-headed and have no consciousness at all. Once they appear under the scorching sun, their souls will be scattered. Occasionally, some of them are lucky enough to survive in the cold, but they will disappear in a few days. Only those with deep obsessions and resentments may transform into evil ghosts and eventually bring disaster to the village. The art of controlling ghosts records that when selecting ghost servants, wandering souls are the worst. Kill them with your own hands, or bury those born in an unlucky year, month, and day, and then extract their souls to raise them. Wei Hong naturally couldn't kill people intentionally and extract their souls. He couldn't feel at ease with such a cruel method, so he used wandering souls without consciousness as ghost servants. Anyway, they would be scattered when the sun rises tomorrow. Raising them as ghost servants is also a way to give them a new life. Chapter 211, Infant Puppet, Possessed by a Wandering Soul. Sephora trees belong to the yin element and have the ability to gather yin energy and nourish ghosts. There are few old Sephora trees planted around the execution ground at Keishikao, Beta Street. They sway in the wind under the moonlight, looking like demons that choose people to devour. Wei Hong observed them with his spiritual pupils. He found that these old Sephora trees do have the ability to gather yin energy. Thick black air lingers around them, so that many wandering souls instinctively gather towards them. There are even a few wandering souls with slightly stronger breath hidden in the tree canopy. Once they are allowed to transform, even if they cannot breed resentment and become evil ghosts, they will grow into ghosts far beyond ordinary wandering souls, and it is possible to confuse and scare mortals. Try it. Wei Hong jumped onto the old Sephora tree, pulled out the heartbreaking knife and easily cut off a branch as thick as an arm, and then jumped down and started carving directly. Although he had never learned carving before. However, relying on the sharpness of the heartbreaking knife and the control of strength, he easily carved a lifelike ghost child statue. It is only the size of a fist, and dark red in color. It looks like a baby sitting cross-legged and smiling foolishly. But there is a trace of evil in it for no reason, which makes people feel creepy, as if something is attached to it. In fact, it has not been possessed by wandering souls yet. Wei Hong has to take the next step to attract wandering souls to settle in. Puff. He cut his finger with a knife, and directly carved various runes on the baby wood carving with blood. The blood was sucked into the wood carving as if it touched a sponge. Gradually, the bloody smell of the baby wood carving became stronger and stronger. Although Wei Hong did not understand the purpose of these runes, he clearly felt that the surrounding yin qi began to gather on the wood carving, and it actually had the same effect as the locust tree itself. If it weren't for his amazing evil spirit, I'm afraid that wandering souls would have been eager to get into it. At that time, there would be no need to pay much attention. After being nurtured in the extremely yin place for 10 or 8 years, it would be easy to breed a ferocious ghost. Come in. Wei Hong sneered and placed the wood carving under the locust tree. Several wandering spirits instinctively approached it, and finally a group of black air merged into the wooden sculpture of the baby and disappeared. The smile on its mouth seemed to become a little more evil. Not bad, not bad. Wei Hong was satisfied and held it in his hand. The art of controlling ghosts is just a pseudo-spell after all. It cannot cast a spell to control evil spirits like a real cultivator. It can only feed the ghosts with blood and deepen the connection with them to achieve the effect of control. No wonder the classics record that too many ghosts should not be raised. After all, the stronger this thing is, the more blood it needs to suck. If it cannot be satisfied, it will backfire. Moreover, continuous bleeding will affect lifespan, and long-term contact with yin objects will also reduce yang lifespan. The ghost needs to be stored in a very yin place, and it needs to be fed with blood every day, so that it can be completely integrated with a puppet and cannot be separated. After its intelligence continues to increase, we can control it by controlling the life and death of the puppet through verbal communication, threats and other means. Damn, how is this like training a dog? Wei Hong muttered with a strange look on his face. The art of controlling ghosts is actually very simple and crude. It is to feed the ghosts with one's own blood in essence, and then force the ghosts to work for oneself by threatening to destroy the puppet. Those who are disobedient will be tortured by various means, and even the puppet will be directly destroyed to make its soul fly away. Those who are obedient will be kept and driven. It is not as mysterious as the spells used by immortal cultivators to control evil spirits, but it is also very reliable. Most of the ghosts tamed by this method dare not resist their masters. In that case, why not get a few more ghosts? Kill one that doesn't listen immediately, and keep an obedient one instead, so as to save the trouble of torturing and training them slowly. Other people don't dare to keep too many ghosts for fear of shortening their lifespan or wasting their blood in essence, but what should I be afraid of? Wei Hong curled his lips and smiled, and decisively continued to carve puppets. In just half an hour, he carved out 8 puppets in a row, a total of 9 with the previous one. The ancients regarded 9 as the limit. He thought about it and didn't continue to carve. It's better to make so many for the first time. It's not too late to make them next time if needed. It's not certain whether they can succeed. After a while, all 9 puppets were attached with wandering souls. But how to place them next became a problem. If wandering souls want to become stronger, they must absorb blood and yin qi. Wei Hong can provide blood at any time, but where can he provide yin qi? The execution ground, mass graves, and haunted houses are all places with extremely heavy yin energy, which are suitable for raising little ghosts. Wei Hong stroked his chin and analyzed, but there is a suppression division guarding the capital all year round, and there are also national masters watching the fortune. Once there is extremely heavy yin energy gathering in a certain place, they will inevitably be discovered and cleared. If I want to raise little ghosts quietly without being discovered, I must either find a secret place in the mass graves outside the city, or find a very yin place in the city. Wei Hong thought about it. Suddenly, his eyes lit up and he thought of a perfect place: prison. There are prisons in the Dali Temple and the Ministry of Justice, where all kinds of criminals are detained all year round, and there are countless people who died unjustly. Although Wei Hong has never been to the Xianlao, his grandfather, Old Wei, used to work part-time to deliver food to prisoners in the Xianlao when he was a night watchman. According to him, there is no sunlight in the Xianlao, and the yin energy is gloomy. Ordinary people would become listless after being in prison for a few days, and would get sick after more than half a month. Even strong warriors would not be able to bear it. This kind of place is definitely suitable for raising little ghosts. No matter how much Wei Hong tossed around in it, he should not alarm the people of the evil suppression division. However, how to put the puppet in it and how not to alarm the jailer was a problem. In fact, it is not necessary to enter the prison. Buy a small yard near the prison and dig a cellar underground. It will definitely attract the yin qi. And because the cellar is very close to the prison, even if there is yin qi gathering, it will not attract the attention of outsiders. It's great. Thinking of this, Wei Hong couldn't help but chuckle. He just felt that his idea was very good. If everything goes well, he plans to make a blood pool, soak all the puppets directly in it, and then put 10 or 8 buckets of blood in the blood pool. With his abundant blood and qi in the bone refining realm, raising little ghosts, I'm afraid there is nothing more luxurious than this, right? What kind of vicious creatures can be raised by then? Thinking about it is really exciting. After a delay, the footsteps of the patrol camp soldiers approaching the corner of the street were heard. Wei Hong put away his puppet and turned away, leaving only sawdust and mess on the ground. However, I believe that even if someone saw these sawdust, they would not know what someone did here in the middle of the night. On the contrary, it was because he carved the puppet that absorbed the wandering souls. The execution ground was inexplicably less gloomy. Chapter 212, The Cheyenne Liao Courtyard, where the negative energy gathers. The next day, after Wei Hong finished his work at the butcher shop, he disguised himself as an ordinary middle-aged man and went straight to the prison. There are 7 or 8 prisons in the capital. Among them, the prison of the Ministry of Justice is the largest and the closest to Anlifang. It is located in Pingdinfang, a few miles away. A large area has been designated as a prison, and there is a patrol camp stationed around it for a long time. At first glance, the prison has layers of buildings. It seems like an airtight small palace wall, blocking anyone's hope of escaping from here. Once you step into it, you will often end up dead or disabled. There are also many streets and houses around the prison. However, the yin here is too heavy and not very auspicious. Therefore, most of the people living here are poor and destitute, and the houses are also shabby. Although it is better than the slums, it is much worse than other places. Wei Hong pretended to stroll around casually. He chose a few nice courtyards, which were just a step away from the prison. Through the observation of the spiritual pupil, he found that these courtyards were almost all shrouded in yin. The sky prison is filled with yin energy that is condensed and not dissipated. Living nearby for a long time will definitely lead to unrest in the family and damage to health. A glance at the neighbors entering and leaving this street will tell you that most of the people here have pale faces and the children are skinny. I'm afraid that anyone with a little money would not be willing to live here. Wei Hong was just about to turn around and look for a dental shop to buy a yard when he suddenly saw a sale sign posted at the door of a small yard. He could vaguely hear bursts of coughing in the house, plus a strong smell of soup and medicine. And this small house is the place where the yin energy gathers the most. From the perspective of feng shui, it is probably built on the yin vein, and it is very close to the sky prison. It is really not a good place to live, but it is the most suitable treasure land for Wei Hong. Dong dong dong. Wei Hong knocked on the door casually. After a while, a little girl with a ponytail and a pale face opened the door with a vigilant look and said coquettishly, "Uncle, who are you looking for? Is your yard for sale?" Wei Hong asked directly. The little girl immediately became excited. Yes, yes, do you want to buy it? Uncle, come in and take a look, my yard is very nice. After that, she hurriedly opened the door. This small yard is really small. There is an old locust tree and a well at the entrance. It is surrounded by low walls. There is only a shabby main house, not even a toilet and kitchen. There is only a cooking shed next to the main house. Good guy, you are planting locust trees. Wei Hong really didn't know what to say. A locust tree directly blocked the small yard tightly, and there was not much sunlight coming in. The well might also be connected to the underground yin veins, and yin qi invisible to the naked eye kept seeping out. People living here may not survive for more than 3 to 5 years. Where is your adult? Wei Hong asked. Dad, Dad. The little girl happily welcomed him into the house, only to see a pale, bloodless middle-aged man lying in the small room. He seemed to have tuberculosis, and he almost vomited blood. Seeing Wei Hong coming in, he struggled to get up but couldn't do it. The little girl was so anxious that she went over to help him, and he coughed violently again. External evil has entered the body, and the heart and lungs are damaged. Wei Hong knew the other party's illness at a glance and sneered. You started coughing half a year ago, and you didn't get better even after taking medicine all day, right? Yes, yes. The middle-aged man's eyes lit up, and he said with hope on his face, cough cough cough, who are you? I'm a doctor, and I also know some feng shui. Wei Hong made up a lie. You don't have tuberculosis, but you have inhaled too much civil air. Your house is too close to the prison, and there is a locust tree in the yard. It's unlucky to live there." "Yes, yes, yes." The middle-aged man gasped for breath, and said with approval on his face, "This is why I live in this yard." Cough cough cough. "Sir, save me, save me. Uncle, please save my father." The little girl knelt down and said with tears in her eyes, "My father was an excellent carpenter. He saved money for most of his life to buy this small courtyard. However, he fell ill and coughed all day long after living here for only half a year. Our family has been penniless for a long time. Now the house can't be sold, and we have no money for medicine. Please have mercy and save my father. I don't want him to die." Wei Hong helped the little girl up and looked directly at the middle-aged man and asked, "How much did you spend on this courtyard?" Cough cough cough. Seeing that there was a chance, the middle-aged man quickly cheered up and said, "The housing prices in Chengdu are too expensive. Any small courtyard costs more than 1,000 taels. It's much cheaper here because it's close to the heavenly prison. I also spent 230 taels to buy it. If you want 180 taels, oh no, 150 taels, take it. We father and daughter don't expect too much. We just hope to have enough money to rent a better house and move away." Facing the hopeful eyes of the father and daughter, Wei Hong nodded and said, "I want this yard. I'll give you 250 taels. In addition, I'll prescribe you a soup recipe to strengthen your body and expel evil spirits. As long as you take the medicine and drink it honestly, you will be cured in less than half a month, and your body will be healthier than before." "Really?" The father and daughter looked ecstatic and unbelievable. They even felt a little strange. Why did the other party behave like this? Could it be that they met a kind person? "Don't be suspicious." Wei Hong continued to make up nonsense. "I have always been kind-hearted, and I bought this yard to place the tablets of the elders in my family. It doesn't matter if I buy this little bit. I can help you and accumulate merit for myself." "Thank you, benefactor, thank you, benefactor." The middle-aged man no longer doubted, struggled to get out of bed and prepared to kowtow to him. Wei Hong helped him up while taking his pulse. After a while, he had a general idea of his condition and prescribed him a soup recipe to strengthen his body and expel evil spirits. Then, he handed over 300 taels of silver notes and said, "I don't like nagging. You two should take the silver notes and leave here immediately. Find a restaurant to stay first. I will buy all the things in the house." "Thank you, benefactor, thank you," the middle-aged man said excitedly. "Zai kowtow to the benefactor." The father and daughter thanked him profusely, thinking that they had met a rare kind-hearted person. But Wei Hong was not just kind-hearted. He was just deeply attracted by the yin energy here and wanted to move in as soon as possible. He was even too lazy to go to the government office to transfer the ownership. He directly took the keys from the father and daughter, and considered it as buying this place. After all, he didn't care about the ownership of this courtyard at all, and didn't even want to live here. He just wanted to use this place as a place to raise little ghosts. After the middle-aged father and daughter simply packed a few pieces of clothing, they turned around and left happily. Wei Hong looked around, picked up a shovel and prepared to start his own transformation. Chapter 213, The Secret Room Under the Well, Bloody Ghost Feeding. Under the sweep of his spiritual eyes, the flow of yin qi in this small courtyard beside the sky prison was clearly visible. Wei Hong quickly locked onto two places with the most yin qi. One was under the old locust tree, and the other was the well connected to the yin vein. Both places are good places to raise little ghosts. However, the roots of the locust tree are lush and difficult to dig, and hiding the baby spirit puppet is also easy to be discovered. Therefore, Wei Hong thought about it and finally decided to focus on the well. This well is about 4 or 5 feet deep. Perhaps because it is connected to the underground water vein, you can feel a coolness when you get close. Raising ghost children must be hidden, so there must be a place that is not easy to be found by others, so that if someone accidentally breaks in, they will not be seen. The well can be seen at a glance. It is indeed not a good place to hide things. But if you can dig a door in the middle of the well, and then dig a secret passage inside to connect to the bottom of the old locust tree, you can dig out a good secret room. Wei Hong made up his mind and started working directly. He jumped into the well, stuck himself in the air with his legs, then raised his hands to remove the blue bricks on the side of the well, and then used a shovel to dig the soil. After a while, A secret passage that could accommodate one person in and out and was 2 or 3 feet deep was dug out by him, leading directly to the roots of the old locust tree. Wei Hong dug out another secret room more than 10 feet wide underground. He used brute force to pat the surrounding soil tightly, without worrying about landslides at all. Not bad, not bad. Wei Hong smiled with satisfaction. Usually, the well is covered with the grinding stones. Even if someone accidentally breaks in here, they should not notice that there is another world under the well. And the ghost children are constantly absorbing the surrounding yin qi, so the people around should be better off. Thinking of this, Wei Hong finally nodded with satisfaction. He was busy finding a big stone, chiseling it into the shape of a big stone trough, and finally placed it on the ground of the secret room. 9 infant spirit puppets were placed inside the stone trough. Wei Hong directly cut his palm with a knife, letting the surging blood flow into the stone trough. The originally silent puppets became a little more agile after they came into contact with the blood. I don't know if it was an illusion. He actually felt that they were constantly absorbing the blood in the stone trough. All the blood that came into contact with the puppets was sucked away like a sponge. The surrounding yin qi also continued to gather here, and even the yin qi of the heavenly prison was sucked in. Suck it, I want to see how much you can suck. Wei Hong generously forced out more blood. As a large amount of blood flowed, his body also felt a little weak. However, he was a strong man in the bone-refining realm after all. As soon as the lost blood left his body, more blood continued to be produced in his bone marrow. Even if his health value slowly dropped due to the loss of too much blood, Wei Hong only needed to add a few hundred points of vitality to himself, and a stream of warm currents would quickly appear out of thin air, constantly repairing the hidden injuries in his body, replenishing the lost blood, and always keeping him in the best condition. In other words, as long as there is enough vitality, he can completely turn into a blood cow and bleed all the time. What's the big deal about raising 9 little ghosts? He is not afraid of 10 or 100 times more. I just don't know how powerful these ghost children are. If you spend a lot of energy and finally raise a group of waste, it will be a big loss. Woo woo woo. Wei Hong made a strange sound. Groups of black air quickly emerged on the 9 infant spirit puppets. These black air are the wandering souls. They have been entangled on the puppets. As long as time passes, they will definitely merge with the puppets. At that time, Wei Hong can use puppets to control them. If they are disobedient, burning the puppets with fire can make their souls fly away. But now they have no intelligence, and they can't be controlled for a while. They can only vaguely feel that they are very weak, and they can't even withstand the surging blood and evil spirits that Wei Hong inadvertently exudes. For ghosts, the blood of warriors is like a furnace iron, which can cause fatal damage to them. Therefore, most people in the world only hear about some sick and weak people being possessed by ghosts, but never heard of warriors being possessed by ghosts. So weak. Wei Hong was a little disappointed. But after thinking about it, he laughed secretly. He didn't raise these little ghosts to kill the enemy, but to assist. No matter how weak the ghosts are, they have their advantages. For example, if ordinary warriors have not practiced Taoism and opened their eyes, even if they have reached the innate realm, it is difficult for the naked eye to see the sneaky flow. In this way, they are naturally the strongest scouts, and can freely enter and exit the deep palace and high walls. No matter how tight the place is, don't think of stopping the prying. Secondly, ghosts have the means to confuse people. They can also achieve the effect of interference during the battle. In short, we have to wait for a while to see how everything is. I believe that if they are fed with abundant blood every day, they should not let Wei Hong wait too long. After everything was done, Wei Hong covered the underground secret room with satisfaction, turned around and went back home, ready to start working on his marriage with Yan King. Although this marriage was ridiculous. But the two of them were already old, and the men and women of marriageable age had conflicts of interest with each other, so it was nothing to get married, but it would make the elders at home feel relieved. In both his past and present lives, Wei Hong was also getting married for the first time. He naturally didn't want to wrong the girl, so he could only plan it himself, from the wedding room to the engagement letter, the matchmaker, and then to the betrothal gifts, and fortunately he had a lot of wealth. After he worked hard and spent a lot of money, all matters were quickly settled. He first spent 50,000 taels of silver to buy a 3-entry mansion on North Street. This mansion was 7 or 8 times larger than Wei's house, enough to accommodate dozens of people. It used to be the residence of a wealthy businessman. Although it is not as big as the mansion of the rich and powerful, it is not as big as the rich and powerful. But it is much more luxurious than the small courtyard where ordinary people live. There are 2,000 gin stone lions at the door, corridors and pavilions, rockery gardens, and inner and outer side courtyards. The style is no less than that of ordinary official gates. It is not an insult to Yan King to use such a mansion as a wedding room. Then he found the best matchmaker in the city and handed the engagement letter to the Yan family with great fanfare. The matter of his marriage with Yan King suddenly became a hot topic. One is a butcher of the lowest class. The other is the beautiful person in charge of the King Chamber of Commerce. The two of them don't look like a good match at all, but the matchmaker sent by Wei Hong was not kicked out in public, but was warmly received by the Yan family. In the end, they successfully exchanged engagement letters and decided on the marriage. For a while, many people were shocked. Many neighbors in Anlafang were also talking about it. Many powerful children who had been thinking about Yan King for a long time were instantly furious. Chapter 214, Strong Provocation and Open Poisoning? What? Second, Miss Yan is going to discuss marriage with a pig butcher. In the private room on the second floor of Jinayalao, 7 or 8 young men in luxurious clothes were drinking. After one of them started a conversation, the others were all shocked and astonished. Don't you know yet? A man in a green shirt holding a folding fan sarcastically said, "It's all over the street now. Yesterday, Wei Hong, the boss of Wei's meat shop, personally sent a matchmaker to the door, causing a lot of noise. The Yan family was so happy to entertain him, and the two sides even exchanged engagement letters. Isn't it infuriating? Fuck, who is this Wei guy? A stinky pig butcher dared to steal my woman. Bullshit, what do you mean your woman? I fell in love with her first. Don't talk nonsense. The little girl that we brothers have been thinking about has been taken away by someone. We can't swallow this." Everyone was filled with righteous indignation, and they cursed one after another. These people are either illegitimate sons of officials or side branches of powerful and noble families. They can't even think about marrying a noble lady in this life. Their status is not enough to match. The best choice is to marry a concubine who is well matched as the main wife. Marry a few more daughters of merchants, and then feed yourself with dowries, land, and shops. Only by combining the strong can you guarantee your wealth and glory for the rest of your life. Yan King is the head of a chamber of commerce. She has both financial resources and beauty. The branch she belongs to has also been separated from the main house of the Yan family, which means that no one is backing her up. If such an easy prey was taken away by the few people present, they naturally dared not say much, and could only smile and congratulate the other party. But now it was taken away by an outsider. And the other party is a stinky pig butcher with no background. How can everyone save face? It would be strange if they didn't go crazy. Brother Su, do you know where this Wei came from? A young man with a pale face asked with a sneer. I've asked around. The man in green shirt waved his folding fan and said with disdain, he's just a rascal who grew up in the slums. His grandfather used to be a night watchman on the street. Later, he learned how to kill pigs from Zhu Sihayev's huge meat shop, and learned a few farming tricks. That's it? Damn it, is Yan King crazy? Of course, although she is the daughter of a merchant, she looks good and has a lot of wealth. She usually interacts with noble ladies. Why would she lower her status like this? Unlucky, really unlucky. Everyone was so angry that their heads were dizzy when they heard it. It was like the goddess they pursued so hard actually married a beggar on the street. It really made people angry, and they wanted to draw their swords and kill the other person. A butcher dares to be so rampant? He must be taught a lesson and let him know his place. Yes, Yan King, this bitch, is shameless. She dares to make trouble in the small King Chamber of Commerce. She really doesn't know how to live or die. We should give orders later and teach them a lesson. Everyone was abusing. Little did they know that in the private room next door, Yan King had just made an appointment with a noble lady from the capital to discuss the news. Now that the noble lady had not arrived yet, she and her maid Kuya were waiting in the private room when they happened to hear these remarks. Miss, Kuya said anxiously, what should we do? The princes and grandsons are powerful and we can't afford to offend them. If they say anything, the Chamber of Commerce will be unable to move forward. After that, she glanced at Yan King's face. Could not help but continue to persuade, I really don't know what you are thinking, young lady. What's so good about a butcher? I, a servant, look down on men of such background. You Shut up. Yan King frowned impatiently and scolded. He is the future son-in-law. How can you casually comment on him? I'm sorry, young lady. Kuir said with a face full of grievance. I just don't want you to marry the wrong person and regret it for the rest of your life. What do you know? Yan King murmured softly, but didn't know how to refute. But at this moment, there was a knock on the door of the private room next door. A man who looked like a servant walked into the private room with a gift box and a few invitations. What are you doing? Didn't you see that I was drinking? The man in green scolded coldly. I'm sorry, gentlemen. Someone just paid me to deliver something. The servant nodded and said, he claims to be the big stall owner of Wei's meat shop on North Street. He said he wants to send invitations to you gentlemen. Invitations? How dare Wei send us invitations? You bastard, does he even know us? Everyone was furious, feeling extremely insulted. Some young masters even drew their swords and wanted to chop Wei Hong. They slammed the table in anger, and the servants who delivered the things were trembling with fear. In the private room next door, Yan King and the other two were also stunned. Miss, hasn't the date for your marriage with your son-in-law been set yet? Kuir couldn't help but said anxiously, how could he know the existence of you gentlemen? And he dared to take the initiative to provoke us. This is going to cause trouble. Shut up. Yan King scolded with a cold look on her face, but she was not as panicked as she was. However, her clenched hands in her sleeves revealed her nervousness. This kind of bastard from a powerful family may seem useless, but in fact, it is not easy to mess with. They are in collusion with each other. Relying on the power of the family behind them, how can ordinary people fight against them? But before she could come up with a countermeasure to deal with this sudden change, a muffled groan suddenly came from the private room next door. It turned out that a few young masters wanted to see what invitation Wei Hong wrote in anger, and they suffered a disaster when they took it. There was no word on the invitation, but it had been poisoned with colorless and tasteless poison. In addition to the servant who delivered the letter, not only did 7 or 8 young masters collapse on the spot, but even their entourage and guards all collapsed on the ground after hearing the noise and rushing into the room. They did not vomit blood or vomit, but they were numb and weak even though they were fine. They could only stare with wide eyes and keep breathing heavily, with horror on their faces. Poison, it's poisonous. Damn it, the guy surnamed Wei is actually a poison master. Damn it, we didn't provoke him. Everyone's face changed drastically with fear. Even the dumbest could sense the other party's deep meaning. This was clearly a warning from Wei Hong. It was called a gift, but it was actually a demonstration. This kind of desperate method of Jianghu stunned everyone at once. They didn't have time to be shocked and angry, and they were left with panic. One by one, they took out the detoxification pills from their arms and swallowed them like crazy. But no matter how many detoxification pills they swallowed, the toxins in their bodies still could not be eliminated. They could only collapse limply on the ground, completely like being slaughtered. Gentlemen. The servant who delivered the gifts was so scared that he almost cried out, I'm just delivering things, I didn't poison. Chapter 215 Deadly Poison Master, Easy Deterrence. The sudden poisoning made everyone present a little at a loss. Even Yan King in the next room couldn't help but stand up. Miss, what's going on? Kuir said anxiously, could it be that the future son-in-law wants to kill them? How dare he? Let's go and save them. What are you panicking about? Yan King raised her hand and sat down again. She was not going to show up, nor did she want to show up. Because she knew that Wei Hong must have his reasons for doing this. Although she happened to encounter this scene, she couldn't intervene too much, so as not to ruin his plan. Gradually, the people next door also came to their senses. The young masters all looked at the brocade box brought by the servant. Wei Hong must not want to kill people by poisoning people with a paralyzed poison, otherwise he would provoke so many powerful families at once. Even if he poisoned a bastard, they would not stop fighting with him for the family's face. He ordered someone to send the invitation in the brocade box. The invitation was poisoned, so the brocade box must have an antidote. Quick, give me the thing. Su's son raised his hand tentatively. The servant quickly handed the brocade box over, and the other party opened it and found a small jade bottle inside. He opened the jade bottle and sniffed it, and a fishy and spicy smell rushed straight to the top of his head. Cough, cough, cough. After a violent cough, the numbness and soreness of the body receded like a tide, and the whole person gradually regained strength. It works, it's really an antidote. Su was overjoyed and quickly let everyone sniff the jade bottle one by one, and then the poison and everyone was solved. For a while, everyone had an expression of surviving a disaster, with cold sweat on their backs. They were all pampered young men, and they had never been subjected to the methods of such a disparate gangster, and they were deeply shocked. The other party's demonstration was nothing more than one meaning. He warned everyone not to interfere with his marriage with Yan King, and at the same time, he was also showing his profound poison skills, letting everyone know that he had the ability to take everyone's life. This kind of threat is really terrifying. After all, where have these young masters ever encountered such a scene? They thought about the feeling of despair that they had just felt powerless. If a thief happened to attack, they would be dead. As a result, the momentum that was just shouting and killing suddenly became stiff and cold. At this moment, everyone was extremely afraid of Wei Hong. Bastard! Young Master Su said angrily, this guy is so bold that he dared to poison this young master. Does he really think that our Su family is easy to mess with? Haha, I don't know if the Su family is easy to mess with, but this Wei is definitely not easy to mess with. A round-faced young man sneered, this man was born in the slums, where there are desperate people. You don't really want to fight him head-on, do you? What if we fight? Can we still be afraid of him? Someone was unconvinced and stubborn. Bah! The round-faced young man spat out a mouthful of thick phlegm and cursed disdainfully, aren't you afraid that he almost peed his pants just now because of fear? He has only an old grandfather in his family. What can you do even if you kill him? He ran to your house to poison you. Be careful that your whole family will die. Hiss. Everyone took a breath of cold air. People in the world are always indifferent to ghosts, evil spirits, weird things, poison masters and the like. After all, they are all beings that can kill people silently. Who would provoke a poison master for no reason? My bodyguard Uncle Lin is in the early stage of the bone refining realm. The round-faced fat man continued, but even he can't withstand this kind of toxin, which shows that Wei's poison methods must be very terrifying. This kind of person can no longer be measured by the ordinary martial arts realm. Who of you dares to provoke him? Be careful that the family behind you will be the first to expel you. Everyone was shocked when they heard it. To put it nicely, they are the sons of the rich and powerful, and to put it bluntly, they are just playboys. How could the family offend a master of poison whose strength is unknown for them? After all, who dares to fight with the lives of the whole family? Therefore, once the family knows about this, I am afraid that they will deal with him first, and will not deal with Wei Hong at all, right? Quick! Prepare a generous gift. I will definitely go to congratulate the wedding of Wei Dadiangtao and Miss Yan'er. Idiot, how can congratulations alone be enough? Hurry up and ask all the restaurants in the family to place orders at Wei Ji Meat Shop, and say that it is an apology from young Master Su. Not bad, not bad, you must go to apologize. The young masters are all smart people. Once they figured out the situation, they naturally put down their face and changed their strategy. They all wanted to make friends with Wei Hong. Yan King and the maid Kuir in the next room heard the whole thing. At this moment, the two of them looked very strange, as if they had heard some unbelievable talk. Kuir, who was originally excited and adoring about her daughter marrying a butcher, could not help but lower her voice and said, Miss, is this really done by the son-in-law? He is so amazing, he solved a big trouble just by sending a gift box. Yes, it is really amazing. Yan King secretly smacked her lips. Obviously she did not expect Wei Hong to have such a hand in poison. From beginning to end. She actually did not know him very well. This man is so mysterious and scary. It was thought that their marriage would bring turmoil to the King Chamber of Commerce and offend many powerful children, but who would have thought that he quietly solved these big troubles in secret? In this way, who dares to hinder the wedding? If Yan King had not come here to discuss business today, I am afraid that she would get married smoothly without knowing it, and she would not know that her future husband would have such a skill. Let's go back first. Yan King spoke softly, and once again restored her gentle image in the past. But Kuir, who grew up with her since childhood, could see that her young lady was in a very good mood. The previous appearance of being full of sorrow but pretending to be calm was gone, and now she was truly happy and excited. Congratulations, young lady, congratulations, young lady. Kuir laughed and joked in a low voice, young master is so capable, you don't have to worry too much in the future, just give birth to a bunch of big fat boys at home. Don't talk nonsense. Yan King glanced at her coquettishly, and a camel blush flashed across her snow-white face. "If you talk nonsense again, I will sell you out." Kuya was not panicked at all, but teased in a low voice, "Young lady, don't try to scare me. Young master is a martial artist with a strong physique. When the time comes, you can't stand it, and you have to let us maids help you. Who can you go to if you sell me? Stinky girl, do you know how to be ashamed?" "I don't know, Yan King has been working hard to support the third branch of the Yan family since the death of her father and the turmoil in the family. She has never felt as happy and relaxed as she does now." Chapter 216, Getting Married in the Hall, Wei Shisenling. The 7th day of the 5th lunar month is an auspicious day for marriage. Wei Hong and Yan King didn't want to wait too long, so they simply kept all the etiquette simple. After finding a matchmaker, they started to organize the wedding banquet. The Yan family had already split up. The third room where Yan King lived only had her and a younger sister, plus a few elderly elders, and a few half-brothers who were waiting to be fed. If not, she wouldn't have to support her family so early. Not to mention worrying about her marriage all day. But it happened that because the third room of the Yan family was now under her control, this wedding was not a bit of a setback, and everyone in the family had no objections. The whole day was filled with gongs and drums, and firecrackers rang out. Countless candies and wedding money were scattered on North Street, attracting passers-by and neighbors to congratulate, and the children in the neighborhood were also running around happily to tell each other. Although it is not as grand as the wedding of a wealthy family. But after Wei Hong spent a lot of money, his wedding was not shabby. Based on his status as the big stall owner of Weiji Meat Shop, various merchants and shopkeepers sent people to congratulate him, and the various branches of the Tiger Head Gang also sent people. At the same time, there were many sons and brothers from powerful and noble families, and they sent people to send generous gifts. The guests didn't know the difference between legitimate and illegitimate sons in aristocratic families. They just thought that Wei Hong had enough face, and even such aristocratic families had to send people to congratulate him. For a time, they were naturally in awe of him, and even old Wei received a lot of compliments. Worship and get married. Drinking and chatting. Wei Hong completed this major event in his life while he was dizzy. When he sat in the wedding room with the flickering candlelight, facing the delicate figure wearing a red veil, he still felt like he was dreaming. How did he get married? Wei Hong was a little dazed. He had never married a wife in his previous life. Unexpectedly, he married a delicate wife in this great Zhou dynasty. Thinking of Yan King's soft and gentle appearance, he finally had to admit that he was greedy for her body and became a bridegroom in a daze. "Son-in-law, please." Kuya and the equally cute maid Zaire came over with a tray, one holding a wedding scale and the other holding a wedding wine. After Wei Hong used the wedding scale to lift the red veil, Yan King's bright and beautiful face was revealed. She was wearing a bright red wedding dress today, and her whole person was as delicate as a flower. The wedding dress was woven with gorgeous patterns of gold and silver threads, shining under the candlelight. A gentle and pretty little face became beautiful and moving under the light application of powder. The phoenix crown on her head hung various gold beads and treasures. Not only did she not look tacky, but she looked like a fairy. "Husband," Yan King called shyly. Wei Hong's eyes flashed with surprise, and then he took the wedding wine and drank with her, and then kissed her tenderly. The red candles flickered all night. The battles continued all night in the bridal chamber. The maids serving outside the bridal chamber went from shy to numb, and everyone was almost exhausted. They actually sent hot water to the room 13 times. So far, Wei Hong became famous in one battle. The name of Wei Shisenlang began to spread quietly among the people, attracting countless women in the boudoir to envy him. In the early morning, Yan King and Kuya Zir, who looked tired, forced themselves to dress up despite the pain all over their bodies. They wanted to fall asleep several times, but fortunately, with the help of other maids, they barely dressed up. Wei Hong was still refreshed. A night of conquest was not as tiring as practicing martial arts for him. He didn't look tired at all. "King, if you are tired, take a rest," Wei Hong reminded in a gentle voice. "No." Yan King asked someone to comb her hair into a woman's bun, and said coquettishly, "How can a new bride not offer tea on the first day? Outsiders will say that I have no manners. Grandfather is not a man who pays attention to rules." Wei Hong comforted casually, "I will just say a few words to him." "That's not right. Etiquette cannot be abolished." Yan King was firm. Wei Hong did not continue to insist. After finishing the makeup, the two of them took a group of maids and went straight to the hall of Wei Mansion. At this moment, Old Wei, Grandma Wang, Chuju, and the little girl Lin Yuan were waiting here. They were all wearing new clothes, but their faces were still a little uneasy. From the slums to the Wei residence in Xianbao Lane, and then to the current Wei Mansion, Wei Hong has experienced countless ups and downs along the way. He can accept everything about himself and enjoy the service of slaves and maids, but most other people are still a little uncomfortable. The couple respectfully offered tea to the old man. After taking the red envelope from the old man, the bride's tea offering session was over. "Grandpa, are you used to living in the mansion?" Wei Hong asked with a smile. "Not used to it." Old Wei shook his head awkwardly. The huge mansion of the Wei Mansion was filled with dozens of maids, cooks, grooms, and guards brought by Yan King. There were people to greet them when they entered and left, and even help them wash. They were wearing silk and satin, so it was no wonder that he was so uncomfortable. "But the servants don't serve you well?" Yan King asked with concern. "If anyone dares to neglect Grandpa, please punish them at will. It's all because of King's poor care." "No, no, no." Old Wei waved his hands hurriedly. "I'm not used to you serving me too well. I've been poor all my life, and I'm better off because of my grandson's efforts." "Yan girl, you are a good child, don't blame yourself too much." Yan King smiled when she heard this, and said softly, "I guess Grandpa is not used to living in the new house just now, right? You just stay for a few more days." Old Wei seemed to be hesitant to speak. In fact, he wanted to move back to the Wei residence in Xianbao Lane, where he knew the neighbors, and it would be more comfortable to live in a small courtyard without anyone to serve him. Wei Hong saw what he was thinking and said with a smile, "The small courtyard in Xianbao Lane is now occupied by Grandma Wang and Kyuju. If you are not used to it, you can live in both places. Anyway, they are not too far apart." "Okay, okay." Old Wei smiled. Wei Hong hugged the little girl Lin Yuan and said to Yan King, "This is my adopted sister. I will trouble you to take care of her in the future. Don't worry, my husband." Yan King gently squatted down and took her little hand, and said softly, "Yuan, sister will take care of you in the future, okay?" Lin Yuan nodded timidly. She still didn't talk much, but she could obviously feel that Yan King was really good to her, so she was also happy to get close to her. In a happy atmosphere, the family sat down and ate the first breakfast after Wei Hong's wedding. The huge mansion seemed full of life because of the numerous servants. Yan King managed everything in an orderly manner. Not only did the business of the Chamber of Commerce not get delayed at all, but the family was also well arranged. Wei Hong, who suddenly went from being a poor bachelor to the owner of the Wei Mansion and lived such a luxurious and corrupt life as a landlord, was so comfortable that he almost forgot himself. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 217, Returning and Establishing Yan'yu Tower. In mid-June, Luan Zioki and his party, who had been running around outside, finally returned to the capital of the gods. The ship they were on docked at an unknown ferry several miles away from the water and land docks in the middle of the night. As soon as they got off the ship, a carriage came to pick them up and sent them directly to the Misty Rain Villa in secret. 2 months later, the villa had already been secretly transformed by Wei Hong. Everything here was done by him personally. Not only did he expand the martial arts training ground, but he also secretly added a lot of sentry posts that could secretly monitor the entire villa. At the same time, he also set up many traps in the nearby mountains and forests. On weekdays, there are skylarks and bluebirds patrolling in the mountains and forests. Anyone who wants to get close can't escape their surveillance. The warehouse in the villa is full of food, rice, clothes, weapons, and medicinal materials. Wei Hong even spent money to build an ice cellar to store a lot of meat. In this way, only a batch of supplies need to be secretly delivered every once in a while. It can ensure that hundreds of people live here safely without leaking any information to the outside world. On this trip, Luan Zioki brought back a total of 217 boys and girls. They were all between 10 and 16 years old, thin and pale, obviously poor people without parents, with panic, vigilance and numbness in their eyes. Early morning. They washed off their messy clothes, put on brand new green clothes, and wolfed down pot after pot of broth and pancakes. Their complexion was much better. So many people. Wei Hong looked at Luan Xiaoqi in surprise. After 2 months of running around outside, the 9 teenagers were all much calmer. They disguised themselves as middle-aged men with fierce faces, and their strengths all broke through to the blood-refining realm. No one dared to provoke them when they went out. There are too many poor people outside. Luan Xiaoqi hesitated and said, Shuzhou has experienced wars, floods, and plagues. There are countless deaths. There are corpses on the roadside. We give them a full meal and countless orphans are willing to follow us. These are all carefully selected. After saying this, he was afraid that Wei Hong would be unhappy. He quickly tried to make up for it and said, it doesn't cost much money to feed a few people anyway. Just give them enough food to eat. In the future, they will train themselves to death. It won't be a big deal if a group of them die. Yes. Wei Hong nodded and didn't say much. For him now, it is indeed not difficult to feed a few more people. And this is the way of the world. If you give them enough food to eat, the lives of these young men and women are their own. Even if a group of them die in training, no one will care. Only the strong can survive. From today on, the 9 of you will be stationed in the villa for a long time. Wei Hong solemnly instructed, I will send someone to deliver food and drinks every once in a while. Even if you want to go home, you can't all go back together. Only 2 or 3 people can leave at a time. The others need to keep an eye on these people. Don't worry, as long as they can eat enough, these wolf cubs will not leave even if you chase them away. Don't be afraid that they will escape. Luan Xiaoqi promised with a smile. Shut up. Wei Hong shouted in a low voice, do you know what we are doing? From now on, the villa must follow the military standards, and no information can be leaked out. Do you understand? Yes. Luan Xiaoqi agreed seriously, and the other teenagers also had a solemn look on their faces, no longer joking around. Wei Hong threw such a heavy responsibility to them, how dare they not work hard? I'm afraid that from now on, the villa will be even more strict than the military camp, and not even a fly can fly in and out. Our Yan'anyu Tower is temporarily set as an intelligence organization, with the purpose of monitoring the movements inside and outside the capital of God, and protecting our relatives in this chaotic world. Wei Hong continued, so we need to train a group of top talents who are loyal, capable of fighting and killing, outstanding in martial arts, good at disguise, tracking and anti-tracking, and collecting intelligence. After speaking, he handed out a booklet. It listed some brainwashing and training techniques he thought of, and also integrated some of the experience of training death warriors in the Prince Duan's mansion, which was enough to give Luan Xiaoqi and others some inspiration and guidance. Don't worry, Brother Wei, we understand. Luan Xiaoqi agreed hurriedly. Wei Hong shook his head subconsciously and reminded, since it is a secret organization, any name that can reveal the identity must not be mentioned in the future. Everyone must have a code name. Call me Poison King from now on. Yes, Poison King. The teenagers bowed and agreed. From now on, the 9 of us will be named An. Luan Xiaoqi said directly, I will be Enyi, and the rest of you will be ranked 9 according to your age. Understood. Everyone nodded again. Yes. Wei Hong smiled with satisfaction. This is what an intelligence organization looks like. If you keep talking about Brother Wei and Brother Qi every day, how can you look solemn and mysterious? How can you make these new boys and girls afraid? From now on. Wei Hong thought for a moment and continued, and Yi will lead all affairs of the entire villa. He will be responsible for all training in daily life. And and San will assist in training, Unbayan and Jiu will manage the pigeon shed and warehouse, and the rest will be responsible for the entire villa and the forest within 10 miles. No one is allowed to approach. Do you understand? Yes. Everyone's expression was stern again, and they also understood their respective tasks. Among you, training is naturally the most tiring, the most difficult and the most thoughtful, and patrol and vigilance are more dangerous. Wei Hong continued, as for the pigeon shed, it is responsible for communicating with the outside world, raising goshawks and birds on weekdays, and the warehouse is related to the supply of the entire villa. The workload is not small. You are now blood refining realm warriors. After practicing the blood fusion secret technique, your lifespan has been greatly reduced. It is definitely not comparable to ordinary teenagers. I hope you will throw away your childish mentality in the past and support the door of my Yan'anyu Tower. It will not be in vain for you to practice martial arts. Understood. Everyone agreed again. Wei Hong then waved his hands in satisfaction, signaling everyone to do their job. Luan Zioki and the other 9 people quickly entered the state. Some people dispersed and fled into the mountains and forests to monitor the surroundings, some were responsible for guarding the pigeon shed in the warehouse, and the rest took the boys and girls who had just eaten and drunk to start a lecture. Wei Hong did not intervene too much in the specific training next. He was even too lazy to contact these people, let alone to subdue them personally. After all, he took the path of suppressing all things with one force. Spending money to train these people was just to train them into tools to protect their families and relatives. Why do you need to sharpen a knife yourself? Wei Hong only needs to come and show up occasionally, secretly give these boys and girls some deterrence, and let them mistakenly think that Yan'anyu Tower has a very deep background. The art of controlling people is not much different from the art of taming birds. Use benefits to lure them, use force to deter them, and then through long-term brainwashing training, they can become extremely obedient. If you are still not at ease, you can control them with poison. Wei Hong pondered secretly. Chapter 218, 18 Styles of Cloud Snake, Controlling People with Poison. The major forces in the world, whether it is a noble family or a killer organization or an intelligence organization, often choose poison to control people when training a killer who is not willing to see the light. Although this method is cruel, it is also simple and easy to use. Once the killer is disobedient, he can be easily poisoned to death. As a master of poison, it is naturally very easy for Wei Hong to prepare this kind of poison. He can come up with 7 or 8 recipes in less than a cup of tea. Using poison to control people is ultimately inferior. The poisons used by general organizations often require regular antidotes to be taken at regular intervals. Once the antidote is missing, the intestines will be pierced and the stomach will be rotten and die immediately. This is too insidious, and the subordinates will definitely be dissatisfied in their hearts. But I still don't trust it without poison control. After all, people's hearts are separated from the belly. Who dares to guarantee that the people who have been trained hard will not betray themselves in the end? After a period of entanglement, Wei Hong decided to develop a special toxin. This kind of poison can usually lurk in the body of everyone in Yan'anyu Tower. Once the other party betrays him, he only needs to let the other party smell a strange fragrance to induce the poison in the other party's body and kill him. In this way, the problem is solved perfectly. And it won't cause any estrangement in the hearts of the subordinates. Such a perfect layer of insurance, why not do it? Let's take some time to develop 1 or 2 some other day. After Wei Hong made up his mind, he looked at the field. Luan Zioki had already trained the boys and girls, and was teaching them the foundation-laying pile exercise Cloud Snake 18 styles. This skill was obtained by Wei Hong from the Sutra Pavilion of Prince Duan's mansion. It is of high grade and medium grade. It is not comparable to the common goods in the outside world, and it is no worse than many major sex classics. Compared with the Tiger Walk 13 styles that Wei Hong had practiced before, this Cloud Snake 18 styles is not only many times more exquisite, but also has a softer and more explosive posture. At the same time, it has a strong effect of strengthening the foundation and nourishing the essence, which is very suitable for the weak to practice. These boys and girls are all poor people with lonely life experiences. They are all pale and thin, and their bodies are damaged. They have not eaten enough and have stunted development for many years. If they were asked to practice the 13 tiger movements, not only would they not achieve anything, but it would also easily cause damage to their bodies, which was not worth the effort. Only the 18 cloud snake movements were suitable for them. As long as they practiced seriously, and combined with sufficient meat and nourishing soups and medicines, they would be able to lay the most perfect foundation and completely get rid of their weak constitution. At that time, they would be able to combine it with the blood-melting secret technique. It would increase their cultivation talent by 8 or 10 times, and it would not be a problem to enter the skin refining realm in 2 or 3 months, the blood refining realm in a year and a half, and the bone refining realm in 2 or 3 years. Thinking that he would have a great chance of obtaining a group of loyal and powerful bone refining realm warriors in 3 years, he could not help but be full of expectations. Only 3 years, not a long time. Thinking of his newlywed wife and the increasing number of relatives, Wei Hong could not help but feel extremely satisfied with his decision, because he knew that one day, the Misty Rain Tower would become the biggest backing to protect his relatives, and he would be able to leave with confidence even if he left the divine capital to pursue the immortal fate. The seeds have been planted, Let's see how you sprout. Wei Hong smiled with satisfaction, turned around and left Yan'an Villa. From then on, he began to deliver supplies to the villa continuously. Food and shoes and socks are not valuable things. It only costs 2,000 or 3,000 taels a month to feed more than 200 people, but nourishing soups and medicines and skin refining secret medicines to be used in the future are all priceless. Wei Hong made a simple calculation. If he fully supports more than 200 dead warriors to practice martial arts, and all the soups and secret medicines are purchased, the monthly cost during the foundation building period will be at least 5,000 taels. During the skin refining realm, it will cost at least 20,000 taels per month. When all people enter the blood refining realm, the monthly cost will soar to 260,000 taels. When it comes to the bone refining realm, it may cost 1 million taels every month. How can ordinary people afford such a gold-eating beast? I'm afraid that many aristocratic families are reluctant to spend so much money to raise dead warriors, right? It seems that I still have to make medicine myself. Wei Hong sighed, and secretly felt lucky that he married the virtuous and gentle Yan King. She never asked her husband what he wanted to do, but she was smart and continued to expand into the medicinal materials industry, which could provide him with a large number of stable medicinal material supply channels without him realizing it. With medicinal materials, it became very simple to make medicine again. Wei Hong simply asked the young men with broken hands in the courtyard of Renai Elam to help. Pot after pot of tonic medicine and skin refining secret medicine began to be produced in batches and continuously transported to Yan'an Villa, supplying more than 200 dead warriors to practice martial arts at a cost 10 times lower than the market price. At the same time, Wei Hong's own practice never stopped. He took time out every day to practice hard. With the nourishment of the abundant bone refining pills, his strength was also increasing day by day, and earth-shaking changes were taking place every day. In June, he successfully entered the late stage of the bone refining realm. In early August, he broke through a small realm again. He directly reached the perfection of the bone refining realm, and was one step closer to the organ refining realm. The bones of his body also transformed from stone bones, copper bones, iron bones, and finally to silver bones. His bones were like steel and iron bones, and at the same time, they also showed a hint of secret silver. No matter whether it was a sword or a heavy hammer, it would be difficult to cause any damage. The strong muscles and bones supported him to burst out with greater strength. The strength of Wei Hong's arms had already reached 25,000 kilograms, and he could burst out with an earth-shattering attack with just a raise of his hands. Although he dared not say that he was invincible in the bone refining realm, he was confident that he was not weaker than any master of the powerful and noble. Even if it was the peak of the bone refining realm from the top 5 families, he dared to touch it. But at this point, Wei Hong had another headache. He found that he was getting stronger too fast, so he had to consider the matter of the refining organ realm. How to break through specifically. How to plan the skills after the breakthrough. These all need to be planned in advance. It's impossible to consider them on the day of the breakthrough, right? But looking at Wei Hong's multiple identities, whether it is the butcher's stall owner or the personal guard of Prince Duan's palace, it is not enough for him to obtain these key martial arts resources. After all, they are all monopolized by the top martial arts forces. In other words, the limit of ordinary people is the bone refining realm. If you want to obtain the skills, cultivation experience and secret medicine of the internal organs refining realm, you must join a big force and work like a cow and a horse for them. Even if Wei Hong is in Prince Duan's palace, he has to work hard to climb up before he has the opportunity to access these resources. There are countless good things in the Sutra Pavilion of the prince's palace, but he is not qualified to use them at will. After thinking hard, Wei Hong can only think of 2 ways: either he agrees to Zhang Yuanqi to join the 10,000 poison sect, or he spends time and slowly indoors, and you can always find it if he spends more time and effort. Alice. The speed of cultivation is too fast, which is also distressing. In this case, I can only endure it slowly first, and if it doesn't work, I will contact Zhang Yuanqi. Wei Hong smiled bitterly and murmured. Chapter 219 Weird and Strange, The Ruins of Immortals. September 10th. Outside the account office of the side courtyard of Prince Duan's mansion, groups of personal guards took off their armor and gathered here during the shift change to line up to receive their monthly salary in elixirs. Wei Hong also came to join in the fun. He only waited in line for a while and received a monthly salary of 800 taels, plus 5 bone refining pills. As the saying goes, No matter how small a mosquito is, it is still meat, and he would not despise it. Tizu, I heard that you are making a lot of money at the water and land docks. How could you look down on these melons and 2 dates? Yes, Tizu is very cool now. I heard that even the leader of the Tiger Head gang has to call you a brother. It's a bit unreasonable that you don't help your brothers when you are so rich, right? Several captains of the bone refining realm personal guards joked with a smile, but there was an undisguised hostility in their words. Wei Hong's fake identity of Li Tizu used to be a simple and honest character who could not do anything and could be stepped on by anyone. But who knew that he would rise to prominence in his middle age. Not only did he break through to the bone refining realm, but he also made a lot of money at the land and water wharf. Would this make people envious and jealous? In the past, everyone would only say a few angry words in private. Now that they see him in person, it is inevitable that they will be sarcastic. Wei Hong sneered and replied generously, if you are willing to exchange with me as the captain, I am willing to give up the lucrative position of the land and water wharf. Who is willing? The smiles of several captains of the personal guards choked, and they all became annoyed. At their level, money is always just external things, and power, status, and martial arts resources are things that are out of reach. Although there is money at the land and water wharf, it is limited to gold and silver. It is impossible to get in touch with top martial arts resources. So how could they be willing to replace as the captain of the personal guard? Even if you are poor in the palace, once you get the favor of the superior, you can immediately soar to the sky, which is not comparable to marginal people like him. People, you can't want to eat fat and climb the power at the same time. Wei Hong pretended to sneer and sighed. Li broke through the bone refining realm a few years ago and his foundation has been damaged. He has also practiced the withered bone magic art. There is no hope for him to make further progress in this life. He only wants to make more fat and spend his old age in seclusion. Do you want to learn from me? Hiss. There were uproars in the crowd. The hostility in many people's eyes disappeared instantly, and then turned into a friendly and intimate look, as if everything just now was just an illusion. A strong man in the bone refining realm who practiced the withered bone magic art, lost his lifespan, and had no potential is definitely not easy to mess with. He has no potential to continue to become stronger, which means that he has no desires, no weaknesses, and this guy doesn't even have a wife or children. Anyone who dares to provoke him will be brave enough to fight to the death. Ha ha ha, Tizu, what are you talking about? A captain of the guards immediately changed his face and laughed. You have worked hard for our palace, and it is only right that you get some benefits now. I don't want to exchange positions with you. Yes, we are all hard-working, how dare we delay your enjoyment? Haha, it's been a while since we last drank together, let's go, let's drink. The hostility in everyone's eyes disappeared. Then he pretended to be a warm brother and flattered and won him over. Wei Hong didn't care much about this. He found an excuse to say goodbye and walked out of the account office. At the gate of the yard, a servant was waiting there. When he saw Wei Hong coming out, he bowed and said, Li, the third steward wants to see you. Oh. Wei Hong was slightly surprised, and followed the servant into a small courtyard in the southwest courtyard of the palace. Third steward, are you looking for me? Wei Hong quickly gathered his mind, lowered his eyebrows and saluted Yuan Xianhu who was trimming flowers and plants in the courtyard. This man is in the refining Zhang realm, and his strength is unfathomable. Even though Wei Hong has few rivals in the refining bone realm, he dare not be careless in front of him. If he accidentally reveals his identity, he will definitely not be able to get away with it. Not bad. Yuan Xianhu glanced at him and said indifferently, I heard that you made a lot of money at the water and land dock. Looking at you, I'm afraid your strength has improved a lot, right? A little gain. Wei Hong answered humbly, I don't know why the third steward asked me to come here. The third princess is going to select a group of people who are good at swimming to go to the North Sea recently. Yuan Xianhu glanced at him with a smile while cutting the branches. This. Wei Hong's heart skipped a beat, and he inexplicably thought of the fact that he had practiced martial arts underwater. At that time, he just couldn't find a place to practice martial arts, so he practiced martial arts underwater for the sake of novelty. For this, he also made a lot of reputation on the dock, which also helped him to master the cleverness. But he never thought of it. I don't fight or compete, but I can be targeted by people in the palace just for practicing martial arts? It seems that there are a lot of troubles in the palace. Maybe it's time to consider whether to give up the identity of Li Tizu. The fake identity of the palace guard has brought him a lot of convenience. But as his strength increases, these conveniences have long become useless. On the contrary, the palace has tasks issued from time to time, which can be said to be annoying him. Anyway, after Yam King married him, he also borrowed the name of Wei Hong, a master of poison, and hired 2 bone refining masters to register under the name of King Chamber of Commerce. Li Tizhu's identity is now dispensable, and he can give it up at any time if he wants to. But before he made a decision, Yuan Xianhu continued, a place suspected to be a fairy site was discovered in Kyandao Lake, Bihei. People with good water skills are needed to go down and excavate. When the 3rd princess was about to find someone, I thought of you. Fairy site. Wei Hong's mouth twitched. There are many immortal sites that have appeared in the Great Zhou dynasty over the years, but most of them are fake. Even if there are real ones, they are not accessible to ordinary people. Most of them are divided up by top forces. And he is valued because he is good at swimming. It is estimated that they want him to be a cannon fodder and a vanguard to explore underwater ruins. For a while, Wei Hong really didn't know what to say. 3rd General Manager, do you have to go? Wei Hong asked tentatively. What do you think? Yuan Xianhu asked back with a smile, the person personally appointed by the 3rd princess, is it your turn to refuse? I know that your martial arts path has been cut off, and you have no intention of climbing up, but you can't disobey orders, right? And what if this immortal site is real, and there is really some immortal inheritance inside, others can't get in even if they try their best? The 3rd princess is willing to give you a chance, and you are still not satisfied. Yuan Xianhu's words suppressed him. Wei Hong was speechless immediately. He was a personal guard of the palace, so he dared not disobey the orders of his master. However, if he really wanted to disobey, he could just abandon his identity as Li Tizhu. He was not particularly panicked. Go back and prepare. We will set off in 3 days. Yuan Xianhu said casually, I will go there too. Don't let me down. Yes. Wei Hong bowed and agreed, but his eyes seemed to be thinking about something. Chapter 220, at a critical moment, Wei Hong makes his choice. Kyandao Lake in Bihei. Walking out of Prince Duan's mansion, Wei Hong couldn't help but ponder a question in his heart, go or not? If he was really Li Tizhu, the personal guard of the palace, he naturally had no choice but to go with Yuan Xianhu. But he was not the real Li Tizhu, so he naturally had the ability to refuse. As long as he wanted, Li Tizhu would disappear from the world inexplicably, and even Prince Duan's mansion would not be able to find a trace of him, let alone do anything to him. Don't rush to make a decision, let's figure this out first. Wei Hong turned around and walked towards Xianji Pavilion habitually. Now his intelligence organization has not yet taken shape. Although Xianji Pavilion is a little more expensive, he can still buy the intelligence he wants. After taking a detour in an alley, Wei Hong changed his appearance into the appearance of a fat martial artist, and ran directly to the counter of Xianji Pavilion and asked to buy the information about Kyandao Lake. Sir, do you want to buy information about Kyandao Lake or the Xianji ruins that just appeared? The middle-aged manager asked with a smile. Xianji ruins. 1,800 taels. Wei Hong cursed Xianji Pavilion for being so black-hearted, but reluctantly paid. After a while, he got a thin booklet, which recorded the general situation of Kyandao Lake and the origin of the Xianji ruins. It is said that thousands of years ago, there was a warrior who embarked on the path of cultivating immortals here. He also made a great reputation in the world of cultivating immortals. When he was old, he returned to his hometown and stored all the relics in a secret place. For thousands of years, countless people have wanted to find it, but they all returned empty-handed. But recently, there has been a lot of sword energy rising into the sky above Kyandao Lake, and thousands of cranes and birds have been flying over the lake. Various fairy phantoms have been witnessed by countless people. At this point, some people remembered the legends of the past. They also inferred from some local folk songs that have been passed down. This is the cave of the immortal who is about to be born. It is located somewhere under the layers of water in Kyandao Lake, waiting for the destined person to open it. As soon as this news came out, the world went crazy. Whether it was a famous sect or a demon sect, even many Jianghu wanderers who thought they were good at skills and had extraordinary luck, all went to Kyandao Lake. But this immortal fate must be not easy to get. Because Kyandao Lake is really as its name suggests, it is located in a huge lake, which stretches for hundreds of miles, with thousands of lakes inside, and the deepest part of the lake is an astonishing tens of feet. Moreover, the environment in Cayandeo Lake is complex. Not only are there water bandits who have been causing trouble for many years, but there are also undercurrents under the water. I don't know how many merchant ships have been swallowed and how many lives have been buried. Intelligence says that there are countless corpses under the lake, and there are endless weird and ghostly spirits. There are even water monsters occasionally, so that few people dare to dive to the depths to find immortal fate. In this way, it is no wonder that the third daughter of Prince Duan, the dignified third princess, would mobilize so many troops and prepare to take a group of personal guards who are good at swimming to Cayandeo Lake. But her trip must be bloody. Regardless of whether the immortal fate exists, once the power of the court such as Prince Duan's mansion intervenes, the powerful people from all sides will probably confront each other openly and secretly, and the crisis is naturally self-evident. Go or not? Wei Hong was entangled again. It is not difficult to make a decision. You just need to distinguish which option is the most advantageous. If he doesn't go, he needs to give up his identity as Li Tizhu. In this way, he will lose the convenience of Prince Duan's mansion and the tens of thousands of taels of oil and water from the water and land dock every month. This loss is not taken seriously by him. Money is just a chicken rib to him. But giving up his identity can be exchanged for absolute safety, plus a stable life every day. Although there are risks in going, there must be benefits in a mixed crowd. If he is lucky enough to get a chance to become an immortal, there is no need to say more. Even if he cannot get a chance to become an immortal, he can take the opportunity of the gathering of various sects to seek the second best and seize the refining internal organs realm technique. On one side is to be safe and cautious. On the other side is to be cautious and enterprising. Wei Hong thought for a while and made a natural choice. Let's go. My strength is getting closer to the limit of the bone refining realm. In less than half a year, I will not be able to make any progress. By then, it will be extremely difficult to obtain the refining internal organs realm technique in the capital of gods. My fake identity in the Prince Duan's mansion cannot make me become a refining internal organs realm overnight. The risk is too great. Therefore, if I want to obtain the refining internal organs realm technique, my last hope must be placed outside. Instead of being trapped in the capital of gods all day and wasting time, it is better to go out. With my strength, I can destroy a medium-sized sect more than enough. Why should I be afraid to move? Thinking of this, Wei Hong quickly made up his mind that he could go to Cayandeo Lake. However, he did not go there to work for the third princess, but only for his own chance. Staying in the capital of gods all the time really didn't give him any chance, so he went out to explore and hope for some unexpected gains. Besides, it was not easy to go to Cayandeo Lake. He'd better make more preparations so as not to be caught off guard. First of all, people in the martial arts world love to fight bravely and fiercely. There are always more conflicts in places with many people. Prince Duan's mansion also has many enemies. If they are attacked on the way, there will definitely be a fight. Secondly, there are many weird things and ghosts under Cayandeo Lake. Should he prepare some means to prevent weird things? I don't know how effective the thunder sound lion roaring technique is underwater. The third princess must be accompanied by a master of the refining Zhang realm when she travels. I can deal with the enemies encountered in ordinary fights. I just need to prepare more poisons. You have to bring a few birds and baby puppets. They may be able to help. It's a pity that the purple sun concentrating spirit talisman can't be carved out, otherwise there will be one more means to deal with weird things. Wei Hong secretly regretted. Ever since he inherited the Xiang concentration talisman from the Xiang temple bronze bell, he has been looking for suitable materials to carve the rune on it, so as to exert the power of the rune to deter the weird. Unfortunately, even though his forging skills have reached the level of a craftsman god and he has tried countless strange ores and iron materials, he still cannot carve it out. No matter if it is gold, silver, copper, iron or precious paper. Once the rune is carved on it, it will burn and destroy itself. Even if it is forcibly carved out, it is just like an ordinary object, without any magical effect. So Wei Hong knew that this rune could deal with weirdness, but he was still a good cook without rice. There are still 3 days left, let's find another opportunity to try. If I can figure it out, I will have one more means to fight the enemy. This time, let's try to see if the blood of various ferocious beasts can be used to draw talismans. Jade can also be tried. It is rumored that jade is the essence of heaven and earth. It may be able to withstand the power of runes. It's a pity that the system has not been able to display the talisman drawing skill, otherwise I would just add some points directly. Why bother so much? Wei Hong thought for a while, turned around and left Xianji Pavilion. Chapter 221 Ghost Baby, Purple Yang Concentrating Talisman. Night Wei Mansion, in the training room. Wei Hong dismissed the servants and maids, sat down in front of a table, and scanned the materials he had just sent. Among them were 12 bottles of blood of various beasts, a pile of killing, yellow paper, talisman paper, and ink. In addition, there was a batch of blank jade cards that had never been carved. Tonight he was going to study how to record the runes used by cultivators by ordinary means. If he could do it successfully, it would definitely be a great help to him. Try it. Wei Hong washed his hands in a basin beside him, and lit a stick of sandalwood to clear his mind and concentrate his spirit. Finally, he began his long experimental process. He first poured cans of beast blood into the inkstone, mixed it with ink, and then dipped the brush in it. He drew the Jiang concentration talisman on the yellow paper with a dragon-like pen. Boom! The ink and brush were not finished yet. The talisman paper had already burned automatically, and soon burned into a pile of ashes. Obviously, these talisman papers were not enough to carry the Jiang concentration talisman. Although Wei Hong did not have a complete inheritance of the Taoism of Zeux and Fudao, he could probably guess that in order for the rune to work, there were two things to do. First, there must be a carrier to carry the power of the rune. Second, there must be something to provide energy for the rune. If the Jiang concentrated spirit talisman wants to have an effect on the weirdness, it will probably be like a Taoist drawing a talisman, which requires black dog blood, cinnabar, rooster blood and other extremely positive things, so it is right to use positive beast blood. At the same time, since the talisman paper cannot carry the power of the rune, can the jade talisman work? Wei Hong kept experimenting while thinking. In the end, he found that the blood of elk, monkeys, and birds reacted most violently when drawn on the talisman paper, and often the talisman paper would spontaneously combust before it was finished. It seems that using the blood of these beasts will definitely be better. Wei Hong's eyes lit up, and he decisively took a jade card to try to draw the talisman. He drew on the jade tablet stroke by stroke, and quickly drew a miniature purple sun spirit talisman. When the last stroke fell, a stream of light flashed and then fell silent. Wei Hong looked at the jade talisman in surprise. He found that the rune was successfully drawn and did not self-destruct. There was also a trace of weak energy on the jade talisman. Although this trace of energy was weak, it was closely related to the blood of the beast. Did it work? Wei Hong was surprised and quickly took out an infant spirit puppet. Usually, the 9 puppets were placed in the small courtyard next to the sky prison. After a few months, they had already transformed into ghosts. Today, he brought one back to test the effect of the jade talisman. Woo woo woo. As Wei Hong made a strange sound, groups of black air emanated from the puppet, and then condensed into an illusory childlike appearance. It was pale and scarlet. It was no longer dull like a wandering soul, but had a bloodthirsty and crazy look that made people fear. Ghosts are originally formed by the resentment and malice of human beings. If there is no one to control them, it is almost inevitable that they will swallow human essence and blood. However, since Wei Hong raised them, he has been constantly training them with ghost control techniques. He constantly tortured and beat the disobedient ones. One punch was enough to blow up most of their true spirits, and they have long been tamed. The ghost baby glanced at him. The fierceness in his eyes quickly dissipated, and then there was a trace of fear. He carefully held his head and stepped aside, as if he was afraid that he would whip him. They now have the IQ of a 2 or 3-year-old child. They still understand the most basic way to seek benefits and avoid harm. They also roughly understand that this is their master through repeated taming. Next, Wei Hong only needs to keep taming them. He can let them master more skills and do things for him. However, he summoned the ghost baby now, just to try the effect of the jade talisman. He silently picked up the jade talisman and aimed it at the ghost baby. It immediately retreated desperately in fear, and the black air all over its body was melting like it encountered the sun. The ghost baby screamed inaudibly. It fell to the ground in pain and kept rolling around, but Wei Hong felt a mysterious power on the jade talisman flowing through his body, which calmed his mind. The Jiang concentrated spirit talisman has the effect of burning everything with a scorching sun, and is specifically used to overcome ghosts and weird things. At the same time, It also has the effect of concentrating the mind and preventing the person using the talisman from being confused and controlled by the weird. It can be said to be a treasure with two uses. The effect of the jade talisman made for the first time was very weak. But the ghost baby was not strong either, so it was tortured. The ghost energy on its body also dissipated a lot. It seems that it will be difficult to recover without a few days of warming. However, Wei Hong found that the effect of the jade talisman faded very quickly. It disappeared completely within 3 or 5 breaths, and the runes on the jade talisman also dimmed quickly and completely lost their effect. Wonderful, wonderful. It really works, ha ha ha. Wei Hong laughed heartily, and a sense of accomplishment rose in his heart. No matter what, he finally made a real jade talisman. It doesn't matter if the effect is a little worse, just need to keep improving it. As long as the direction is right, the next step is to work hard to create miracles. If the jade talisman is regarded as some kind of electronic product, the blood ink made of monster blood is regarded as the energy source, and the rune is regarded as a complex circuit board, then everything becomes logical. Want to extend the battery life and increase the power? The focus must be on energy. How to infuse more blood of the beast into the jade talisman and how to improve the blood ink formula have become the top priorities of improvement. Wei Hong thought about it and finally decided to try 1 or 2 more. He dipped the brush into blood ink and then infused it on the tip of the brush with dark energy. After a burst of writing, this time the ink no longer floated lightly on the surface of the jade talisman, but like a laser engraving knife, deeply engraved runes on the jade talisman. The blood ink was also deeply integrated into the jade talisman. The concentration is more than 100 times more than before. Squeak. The pen fell and the talisman was completed. The jade talisman instantly burst into an amazing light and then quickly converged. Ah! The ghost baby screamed in fear, and most of the ghost energy dissipated. If Wei Hong uses it for experiment again, it will be completely broken up and become a ghost. Okay, ha ha ha. Wei Hong smiled with satisfaction. At this time, the jade talisman seemed to have turned decay into magic. It was round and smooth with a faint fluorescence, and the runes were constantly interweaving and flashing. Although it was impossible to test how long it could last and how much power it could burst out. However, it can be seen from the fear of the ghost baby. I must have made something extraordinary. Of course, there is still a lot of room for improvement. For example, mix more suitable blood ink of fierce beasts, try more varieties of jade talismans. In short, the effect will definitely get better and better. If it doesn't work, Wei Hong will win by quantity. First draw a few hundred pieces of it and carry it with you, so that no matter what weirdness, you will have to kneel down and call it daddy, right? Chapter 222 Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. For 3 days in a row, Wei Hong spent most of his time in the training room. He patiently experimented with drawing the purple yang concentration talisman, and continued to accumulate a number of jade talismans. In just a few days, he changed several versions of the jade talismans and drew hundreds of them. Yan King finally knew that he was going out. Although she was reluctant, she did not ask much. She just quietly helped him prepare a bunch of sundries for going out, and directly filled both sides of the horse's back. Husband, be careful when you are out. King will wait for you to come back. Yan King whispered gently. Okay. Wei Hong hugged her, and then stuffed 2 jade bottles into her hands, saying, trouble you to take care of the house. If you encounter any trouble, use poison to solve it. The left side is poison and the right side is antidote. Remember not to let third people know. Yes. Yan King nodded obediently and agreed. A pair of green jade hands tightly grasped the jade bottle and refused to let go. Don't worry, I'll be back soon. It will only take 10 days or half a month at most. Wei Hong smiled and comforted, I'm giving you these just in case. You're in the capital every day, so you shouldn't have the chance to use them. My husband is right. Yan King smiled, raised her eyes and said, I will take good care of my grandfather and Yuan. You come back early. Yes. Wei Hong nodded silently. The two looked at each other, and a ray of warmth was fermenting silently. Although they were married not long ago, Yan King was sensible, kind, gentle and polite, and Wei Hong was gentle and humble. The two of them were in harmony and their feelings surged. They could be regarded as a model of marriage before love. Both of them were very satisfied with their other half in their hearts. Therefore, the concern in their words did not seem fake. After a while of tenderness, Wei Hong turned and rode out of the Wei mansion. After changing his horse and disguising himself in his secret courtyard number 3, he went straight to Prince Duan's mansion. Early this morning, many people had gathered in front of the palace. The trip of the third princess is no joke. There are all kinds of carriages, guards, maids, servants, and nannies. There are at least 200 or 300 people in the group. It doesn't look like they are going to seize the immortal fate, but rather they are going to have fun. Wei Hong was too lazy to say anything more. He went straight to Yuan Xianhu, who was arranging things, and greeted him as a sign of arrival, indicating that he had arrived. Yuan Xianhu was too lazy to arrange him and waved his hand to drive him away. Wei Hong walked around in the crowd, greeting the familiar guards from time to time, and finally saw Lei Peng. This guy had a shaggy beard and a pale face. He looked like he had just recovered from a serious illness. He was holding a pot of wine in his hand and seemed to be in a bad mood. "Brother Peng, what's wrong with you?" Wei Hong was surprised. "I was injured on the last mission and I'm just recovering now." Lei Peng smiled bitterly and shook his head, handing over the wine in his hand. Wei Hong didn't dislike it and took a few sips. "Yes, the Northern Shaodaozi, right." Wei Hong smacked his lips and laughed. "It's quite strong. You are a picky guy." Lei Peng sighed and said, "I heard that you have been doing well recently, so I am relieved. But you have to be careful on this trip to Kyandao Lake. Don't try too hard." "Brother Peng, do you know some inside information?" Wei Hong asked with a smile. Don't say, just be careful." Lei Peng shook his head and said no more. But Wei Hong's face became heavy. This guy seems to be inconspicuous among the guards of Prince Duan's palace, but in fact he has a lot of connections and is very capable. He is often transferred to perform some secret missions. His identity is by no means comparable to that of ordinary guards. If not, the last time the lucrative job at the water and land dock would not have fallen on Wei Hong's head with just a few words. Lei Peng is not optimistic about this trip. Is something going to happen? After a while of chatting, the noble and elegant figure of the third princess finally appeared. She was dressed in a light purple gauze palace dress, showing her dignified and noble appearance, fair skin and delicate features. She unconsciously revealed a sense of arrogance that made people dare not look at her. She was followed by an old man in hemp clothes and an old woman in black robes. The two followed the third princess on the left and right, and the sharp aura they exuded inadvertently made even Yuan Xianhu bow his head slightly. Refining the Zhang realm. Wei Hong was once again shocked by the heritage of Prince Duan's mansion. Yuan Xianhu himself was already a master of the refining Zhang realm, and now the two followers of the third princess were also in the refining Zhang realm? You must know that masters of this level are rare in the Great Zhou dynasty. Any one of them in the outside world would be a master-level existence who founded a sect, and one person is enough to support a large sect. But such a person actually served as an attendant to the powerful? Wei Hong couldn't help but sigh at this moment. Power is really a good thing. The old woman in black robe seemed to have noticed something. Her eyes looked in this direction sharply. Wei Hong's sixth senses were extremely sharp. He noticed something was wrong at the first time, and hurriedly lowered his eyebrows and made a humble appearance. The other party's eyes swept over this area. Everyone was carefully looked at by him. Many guards and servants who were busy were all frightened by this knife-like gaze and took a breath of cold air. They were all nervous, fearing that they would offend such a strong man. "Yuma, what are you doing?" The third princess stopped in front of the carriage and asked in surprise. "Nothing." The old woman in black robe bowed and replied, "This old servant just sensed a trace of yin qi. It may be that someone has been contaminated with unclean things recently." Yin qi. The third princess frowned secretly. It shouldn't be like this. The team is full of martial artists with abundant blood and qi. How dare a ghost dare to approach casually? Aren't you afraid that a martial artist's blood and qi will rush it to death? Maybe it's some unlucky maidservant who got entangled with her weak body. It's not surprising. The old man in hemp clothes said in a hoarse voice. "Yes, let's go." The third princess said no more and stepped directly into the wide and luxurious carriage. Her carriage was pulled by 6 pure black scale-armored horses, and there were guards in front and behind. The pomp was terrifying. The group went to the water and land dock in a mighty manner, attracting countless people's attention along the way. In the team, Wei Hong couldn't help but wipe his cold sweat secretly. Just now, the black-robed old woman's eyes seemed to have substance, almost locking him. Needless to say, It must be that he was recently contaminated with yin qi and ghost qi, so she noticed a clue. But fortunately, the other party didn't investigate further. If he investigated further, he would definitely find that there were 9 ghost baby puppets stuffed in the bundle on the left side of Wei Hong's horse's back. They had been covered up by Wei Hong with special means. If it weren't for the black-robed old woman's keen sense of breath, I'm afraid she wouldn't be able to detect it. The Prince Duan's mansion is really full of hidden dragons and crouching tigers. Wei Hong secretly smacked his lips in his heart. In the past 2 years of practicing martial arts, he has made progress that outsiders can hardly achieve in their lifetime. However, compared with the top powers, his foundation is still a little worse, so he needs to be modest and not arrogant. Chapter 223 Huge Reward. This time, the 3 princesses in the group did not plan to travel by land. The mighty team of 200 or 300 people went straight to the water and land dock, boarded the ship directly from the dock, and the 3 ships loaded all the personnel and frames, and went directly to the East and North Sea. The capital of the gods is only more than 1,000 miles away from the Kyandao Lake in the North Sea. If the ship is running day and night, it will take only 3 or 2 days at most to arrive. There are a lot of supplies stored on the ship, and there is no need to dock to buy from beginning to end. However, the 3 princesses were not in a hurry to rush to Kyandao Lake. She ordered people to walk and stop, stop and walk, and travel all the way. It took 5 or 6 days to reach the border of the North Sea, because the flag of the Prince Duan's mansion was hung on the ship. Along the way, no blind water bandits dared to disturb. Instead, every time they arrived at a place, the local clans, officials, businessmen, and dignitaries had to pay their respects eagerly, and constantly presented various rare treasures in order to win the favor of the 3 princesses. On the 6th day and night, the group finally arrived at Anding County in Bihai. This is a small county town located on the edge of Kyandao Lake. Although it has a population of only more than 100,000, it is very rich because it lies by the lake. The streets are no longer full of beggars and refugees. Most of the people are well dressed and have rosy faces. It is obvious that their lives are better than other places. With the abundant water resources of Kyandao Lake, this place deserves to be called a land of fish and rice. At this time, countless Jianghu forces have gathered in Anding County. Large and small Jianghu sects, powerful families in major states, and countless Jianghu rangers have all arrived. Among the many forces, the people of Prince Duan's mansion are also the first to exist, so they have received a lot of attention as soon as they entered Anding County. The 3 princesses finally chose to stay in the county post station. The local county government emptied the post station, and 200 or 300 people moved in. The door was closed to directly isolate all kinds of prying eyes. At the same time, various pigeons, falcons, and spies were constantly sent out. The 3rd princess only needs to warm up the wine and cook tea in the post station to enjoy life. There are a lot of servants who will report everything that has happened recently in Anding County and even Kyandao Lake. The next morning, Wei Hong and 20 or 30 personal guards, farmhands, and guest officials who are good at swimming lined up in a mighty row and were received by the 3rd princess. She was wearing a bright red dress. Sitting at a low table, drinking tea and playing chess, there was no emotion in her eyes. Yuan Xianhua, with his hands behind his back, lectured everyone. Last night, the spies reported that various forces gathered in Anding County and went to the bottom of the lake to search for the remains of the immortals day and night, but most of them found nothing. The princess brought you here this time, not to let you come here to eat dry food. From today on, all of you will go into the water. When you find the remains of the immortals, you can go ashore. Do you understand? Yes. Everyone agreed with full energy. The 3rd princess, who was thinking about the endgame, frowned slightly, but her casual voice was clearly heard by everyone. Those who find the immortal ruins will be rewarded with 3 5-organ pills, 10,000 taels of gold, 1 copy of the refining organ realm skill, and 1 refining organ martial arts skill. Hiss. The crowd immediately gasped. Many people's eyes were already amazingly bright, and even Wei Hong couldn't help but secretly smack his lips. Although he had heard that the 3rd princess was a heroine and was extremely generous. But he didn't expect the other party to draw such a big pie. You know, half of the dozens of people present are in the bone refining realm. Their lifelong wish is to break through to the refining organ realm, and their internal organs are extremely fragile. How difficult is it to break through? Even the refining organ realm skill is a monopoly of major forces. Even if the personal guards of Prince Duan's mansion want to obtain it, they have to make great contributions. Especially the 5 organs pill is an extremely precious thing. It is said that it is made of more than 100 kinds of secret medicines. It can repair the injuries of the 5 internal organs in a very short time and support the breakthrough of the extreme strong men in the bone refining realm. Who cannot be greedy for such a treasure? Even if many blood refining realm martial artists can't use it, the resale price is astronomical. Anyone thrown into the world is enough to set off a bloody storm. And this is just a bone thrown out by someone. Princess. Someone asked boldly, after we go into the water, how can we tell whether we have encountered the remains of the immortals? Is it by observing with the naked eye, or is there something else mysterious? Can the remains of the immortals be seen with the naked eye? Yuan Xianhua sneered and scolded, any place you think is strange, such as the cold water suddenly becomes warm like spring, such as there is a place that cannot be approached, or you see something strange, you can report it. Yes. The man said in surprise, the villain will remember it. Go down. The third princess waved her hand nonchalantly. Everyone clasped their fists again and agreed. They all turned around with excitement and headed for Cayandeo Lake on the edge of the county town. Early in the morning, the lakeside was already full of people. A small simple pier was full of various boats. Many local fishing boats, pontoon boats, and even bamboo rafts had been requisitioned. The local gang members were like pugs, nodding and bowing to every underworld force, and were oppressed and dared not resist at all. The shore and even the mountains and forests on both sides were crowded with people watching the excitement. Many people from various forces had already called their friends and went boating on the lake. One group after another jumped into the water, and some people temporarily recruited people who were good at water on the shore. It was a mess. Yuan Xianhua led everyone on a building ship. He directly ordered the boatmen to drive to the center of the lake. He had already studied the topography of Cayandeo Lake during this period of time. Although this lake is wide, most of the waters are 3 or 5 feet deep. The side of the immortal will definitely not be too shallow. Therefore, the deeper you search, the greater the chance of finding it. The third princess brought dozens of martial artists who were good at swimming this time. It was impossible to search Cayandeo Lake once, so they could only focus on finding the most likely place. This is really a treasure land with great scenery. Wei Hong stood on the deck and looked at the vast lake. At a glance, there were lakes, blue waves, white clouds, and flying birds. A breeze blew over, and the scenery was so beautiful that people couldn't take their eyes off it. However, Wei Hong's spiritual eyes saw through the beautiful scenery and saw the gloomy crisis hidden under the green lake. The bottomless water was not only filled with thick yin and evil spirits, but also showed that many lives had been lost under this lake. At the same time, Wei Hong also saw a wisp of scarlet breath. They were looming under the water, and even he couldn't see it clearly. Is this a strange breath? Wei Hong was secretly surprised, but he didn't dare to confirm it for a while. He only knew that it must be extremely dangerous underwater. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 224, At the Bottom of the Lake. Go with the flow. Let's start. Go into the water and search. The ship sailed 2 or 3 miles into Cayandeo Lake. Yuan Xianhua ordered people to stop in the central waters of several small islands. The water here is turbulent and deep, and it is a dangerous place where boats often capsize. Brothers, Lao Gao, I'll go first. A man as strong as a bull laughed. He took off his coat to reveal his strong muscles, bit a short knife and stabbed into the water. He looked good at swimming and disappeared in the water in a flash. Haha, you unlucky ghosts also want to compete with me, your grandfather? Dream on, the reward is mine. When I was playing in the water, you were still peeing and playing in the mud. Everyone laughed and joked, and went into the lake one by one with a short knife in their mouths. Wei Hong did not take off his coat, and he was too lazy to buy the knife, but went into the water with 2 deerskin bags on his waist. They were filled with jade talismans and ghost baby puppets. With these 2 treasures, Wei Hong can get out of trouble no matter what happens underwater. Moreover, he didn't want to search underwater by himself. Wouldn't it be better to have a ghost baby to help him than to search by himself? If he really finds the site of the immortal trace by chance, if he can keep it for himself, he will keep it for himself. If he can't keep it for himself, he will consider whether to report it to the third princess. It's also good to exchange for a wave of benefits. In short, this trip to Kyandao Lake will not return empty-handed. Wei Hong was in a good mood and went into the water. The visibility under the green lake was not high. He could only vaguely see the fish and shrimps a few meters away. It was dark below, and he didn't know how deep the bottom of the lake was. The deeper he went underwater, the more turbulent the water became. Undercurrents surged at the bottom of the lake. If someone with poor swimming ability or insufficient strength came over, he would have to go back home before he went down to a depth of 3 or 4 feet. Fortunately, Wei Hong had already obtained the talent of turtle breathing. He would not have any difficulty staying in the water for 3 days and 3 nights, so when others were still working hard to swim underwater, he had already quietly sunk to the bottom of the lake, which was more than 10 feet deep and pitch dark. There were silt, boulders, and fish at the bottom of the lake. Occasionally, you could see rotten shipwrecks, white bones, and some broken swords. The surroundings were not flat either. The turbulent undercurrents washed out large and complex reef gaps at the bottom of the lake, and there were also mountain-like terrain trends in many places. It was really terrifying to think about finding a fairy palace site in such a place. Unless the water of Kyandao Lake was drained, or hundreds of thousands of people were sent to the lake for a carpet search, it would be absolutely a pipe dream to find the site with just a few dozen people. Moreover, is the fairy palace site really here? Wei Hong couldn't help but wonder, even if he found the fairy palace, he might not be able to break it open, right? Forget it, since we are here, we should make the best of it. Let's find it first. Wei Hong raised his hand and patted the deerskin pocket on his left side. 9 groups of black mist spread all around and quickly transformed into 9 ghost babies under the water. They ran away in fear, and when they faced Wei Hong, they were all terrified, without the ferocity and brutality that ghosts should have. Haha. Wei Hong smiled with satisfaction. These ghost babies are now completely tied to the puppet, which means that he has complete control over their life and death. Coupled with the long-term torture and the shock of the jade talisman, it is difficult for them not to be obedient and afraid. Go, search the surrounding lake bottom. Report immediately if you find any special places. Don't hurt anyone, hide from others. Wei Hong directly ordered underwater with ventriloquism. Most of the 9 ghost babies have an IQ of only 2 or 3 years old, so they can't understand too complicated commands, but Wei Hong has trained them to search the surroundings. As for hiding from other martial artists, there is no need to say more. It was still easy for them to deal with ordinary people and warriors in the skin refining realm, but they were still powerless against warriors in the blood refining realm. Therefore, without Wei Hong's reminder, they would stay away from other warriors to avoid being burned by their blood like a furnace. Woo woo woo. With a command, the 9 ghost babies immediately wandered around the bottom of the water. They had no entity and were not afraid of the rapid water flow. There was no place that could stop their infiltration. Therefore, they were definitely very good at searching the bottom of the lake. The efficiency of a ghost baby was more than 100 times stronger than that of a warrior. At the same time, the bottom of the lake was cold, gloomy, and full of yin energy. Ghost babies also liked this kind of place very much. They had been trapped in puppets for a long time and were not allowed to go out. At this moment, they were like wild dogs running around like a runaway dog. Wei Hong was too lazy to control them. In fact, he had no idea how to find the ruins of the Immortal Palace. However, it was expected that the ruins of the Immortal Palace, which had not been found for thousands of years, must have its special place. Once the ghost babies were encountered, they would definitely react. All they had to do was wait slowly. Hoo. Wei Hong casually found a secret place at the bottom of the lake. He quietly practiced the dark energy in the place with heavy water pressure. The dark energy controlled the water flow around his body, constantly colliding with the undercurrent, sometimes controlling his body to fly forward, and sometimes controlling his body to fly left and right. In such a playful way, he had a deeper grasp of the softness of the dark energy. He also became more smooth and free to move underwater. He often did not need to swing his hands and feet. He would move his body like a fish, and his speed was faster than that of ordinary fish. Unconsciously, Wei Hong had a lot of fun. At the same time, he also awakened a very practical swimming skill. If he was chased by someone and jumped into the water one day, He would be able to jump dozens of feet away in a few breaths. I am afraid that even the innate realm strongmen would not be able to catch up with him easily. However, Wei Hong did not forget to go up and breathe every once in a while. Although the breath of the warriors in the blood refining realm and the bone refining realm is longer than that of ordinary people, no matter how good they are at swimming, most of them can only stay underwater for half a cup of tea to a cup of tea. Wei Hong controlled the frequency of breathing to about 2 cups of tea. This not only proved that he was very good at swimming and did not slack off, but also did not seem too abrupt, which was enough to report to Yuan Xianhui. As for when the ruins of the Immortal Palace would be found, he was not sure either, so he could only muddle through and go with the flow. Half a day passed in a flash. Just as Wei Hong went up to breathe again, he suddenly found something wrong. Many martial artists who had been searching for half a day were exhausted and were resting on the deck of the ship. Wei Hong could tell at a glance that several of them carried a scarlet aura. This aura was very obscure, and he could not see through it if he did not have a spiritual pupil. The faces of these martial artists with scarlet auras were normal, without any abnormality, but they were just cursing and complaining about a complicated situation underwater. The people around him could not see anything wrong. Wei Hong glanced and was too lazy to care about their lives. He just quietly stayed away from these people and sat in a corner of the deck, drinking ginger soup to keep warm. Chapter 225, Corpse Floating Underwater. In the evening, everyone worked hard for a day but still got nothing. Yuan Xianhui also knew that it was a bit unrealistic to find it on the first day, so he finally waved his hand helplessly and ordered, "Call it a day, it's dark and it's not suitable to continue searching, let them all come up." Yes. The servants on the deck began to beat the golden gong. After the harsh sound was transmitted underwater, the martial artists emerged from the bottom of the water one after another, and everyone looked exhausted at this moment. Damn it, I soaked in the water for a day and didn't catch anything. I did find a few sunken ships, which were full of fish, shrimps, crabs, and a few white bones. I was scared. Ha ha ha, you coward. Everyone laughed and chatted. Wei Hong silently went up to the deck and glanced around, and his eyes became more interested. Sure enough, it didn't take long before the servant in charge of statistics couldn't help but count the number of people again. He said with surprise, 3 are missing. What's going on? Did you ring the gong? Yuan Xianhui said in a somewhat unfriendly tone, who is dawdling and hasn't come up yet? Li Yan, Su Erhu, Su Minggang. The servant quickly replied, it seems that they haven't come ashore to breathe in the last quarter of an hour. What? Everyone took a breath and realized that something was wrong. Originally, they had to breathe every once in a while, and someone also recorded the time they came ashore, mainly to prevent someone from getting into trouble. Who would have thought that an accident would happen so suddenly? If the 3 of them hadn't come out of the water to breathe last time, it means that the 3 of them must have stayed underwater for more than an instant stick of time. With their skills, it is absolutely impossible to do it. So the 3 of them either swam to other places or something happened. But except for a few small islands on the lake, other places are visible at a glance. Where can they swim to? You, and you, go down and look. Yuan Xianhui directly raised his hand and pointed at the 2 martial artists. Yes. The 2 of them looked pale but didn't dare to say anything more. They just jumped into the lake. Now everyone couldn't help but get nervous. They held their breath and waited silently for the situation. As a result, time passed by. The 2 people who went down were silent. The calm lake was filled with a terrifying atmosphere. Coupled with the dead silence of the evening, everyone couldn't help but take a breath. Damn, something must have happened. Could they be entangled by water ghosts? Water ghosts, ghosts and spirits will end up worse than being put into oil pans under the blood of martial artists like us. How dare they get close? Not necessarily. It's too cold underwater. We have been soaking in the water for a day and are cold and hungry. Our blood must have been suppressed. What if there are some scary ghosts underwater? Maybe it's possible that hostile forces are secretly making trouble. We'd better be careful. Everyone discussed it. But everyone couldn't help but be alert. Only Wei Hong knew that it was not a hostile force that did this. It was probably a strange incident. After all, he had seen the scarlet aura on the first 3 people who disappeared. It would be strange if they didn't get into trouble. But the 2 people who went down just now didn't come up, and something was a little strange. Wei Hong used his spiritual pupils to observe the water surface, and saw that the scarlet aura was getting stronger and stronger. It seemed that there was really something strange under the water. Third steward, something is not right. Wei Hong lowered his voice and reminded, I was fortunate enough to see a book Strange Talks in the Sutra Pavilion of the Royal Palace. It records that whenever a strange thing appears, the surrounding temperature will drop. Although it is September now, but... Hiss. Yuan Xianhu is also a smart person. He took a breath of cool air when he heard it, and his eyebrows couldn't help but throb. Although it is a little cool in September now, martial artists have never been afraid of the scorching heat or severe cold. They shouldn't feel cold, but now there is an inexplicable chill around them. A cup of tea has passed. The two people who went down have not returned yet. The sky had completely darkened. If they didn't leave, the consequences would be unpredictable. But what surprised Wei Hong was that Yuan Xianhu didn't order to evacuate immediately. His face changed for a while, and finally he gritted his teeth and sneered, we are fortunate to help the three princesses. How can we abandon our brothers because of a few twists and turns? Everyone, follow me and take a look. Everyone's face changed drastically. Wei Hong also showed a trace of surprise. His original intention was toward Yuan Xianhu to leave quickly, but who knew that this guy was decisive in doing things? He knew there was danger but was not afraid at all, and vowed to find out the cause of the accident. It seems that it is not unreasonable for him to be the third steward of the Prince Duan's mansion. But think about it, a martial artist in the refining realm is so arrogant, how can he be scared by a small weirdness? At the beginning, the weirdness in the deserted village was so powerful that it didn't scare him. What is the weirdness under the water now? Go. Yuan Xianhu jumped into the water first with an order. Others did not dare to neglect and jumped down one after another. 20 or 30 people gathered together to stimulate the blood and qi. Although they were underwater, it was like a furnace purgatory, forcing the surrounding yin qi to retreat frantically. Even the ghost baby puppet in Wei Hong's pocket was stimulated and shrank into the puppet and dared not show his head, for fear that the blood and qi would burn him. Underwater, visibility is still very poor. After dark, you can see a vague scene of 3 to 5 feet, but now you can only see the scene within 2 feet. Fortunately, everyone gathered together, so no one was too panicked. But soon someone found something wrong. It became very cold underwater, and a wisp of coldness drilled into the body. Even the martial artists were strong and healthy, and they couldn't help shivering. Down. Yuan Xianhu gave orders with ventriloquism. Everyone had to follow him to search below. The more they dived, the more uneasy they felt. When they were almost at the bottom of the lake, they all took a breath of cold air, because there was a group of green light below. 5 figures just stood quietly at the bottom of the lake, as if they had turned into sculptures. With a green light that came out of nowhere. Everyone clearly saw that they closed their eyes and looked dull as if they were dead. They just stood there silently without moving, and their bodies swayed with the waves from time to time, like 5 lifeless water plants. Let's go. Yuan Xianhu was also scared. He didn't come down to save people in the first place, but he was unwilling to leave without understanding the situation. Now that he saw the situation clearly, how could he dare to stay? He immediately rushed up first. The second fastest was naturally Wei Hong. The jade talisman in his right pocket was slightly hot, and waves of clear-minded feelings came over him. He always stayed awake, and when he saw that something was wrong, he rushed up like a fish. The others were so scared that they fled in a hurry. After a period of chaos, Wei Hong successfully followed Yuan Xianhu back to the deck of the building ship. When everyone got ashore, they counted and found that 2 more people were missing. Everyone couldn't help but gasp. Bad luck. Yuan Xianhu cursed inwardly. Retreat, retreat immediately. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.